It's just I've subscribed to the pay in a bulk and don't worry about it for the rest of the year.
Right.
So it's a $60 payment. You're like, I get the emails like, hey, your subscription costs this, $29.99. Okay. And then it's like you get an email 2 days later. Your payment was this. It is now going to be this. And I'm like,
what in the hell, dude?
I'm like, cool. So I went through like all their official stuff. It was like, no, it's nothing about it, why they're doing it. I'm like, cool. So I'm just, yeah.
Like for the first time, Netflix lost subscribers when they did that friggin' rate hike.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's like, oh, it's because Disney's... It's not because Disney's friggin' doing it. No, everybody was pissed at Netflix because they did a rate hike. Everybody else lowered their rates, and then Netflix raised them.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody?
Oh, it was $35.99, excuse me. But still, though, it jumped up to
So they almost doubled it.
Yeah, it's pretty well doubled. It went from $59.99 and will be billed as $59.99 per year. But I don't have to pay it till the 12th of November, so.
Still crazy.
Yeah. It's just like...
Absolutely knucking fudge.
Yeah, that's all it says. It's just, hey, this is telling you that our rates have changed, and there's no information about it.
Wow. Yeah, that's a hell of a jump.
Yeah. Oh no, that was in the same day. It was, here's what you paid last year. You'll probably pay this again this year. Like, okay, cool. And then it's like, hey, it's been updated. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I don't think there's anything on it.
Find us 2 miles north of the bypass on Highway 19 in Elkhart or at internationalrvwholesalers.net.
Bunch of that stuff.
Is freedom. The freedom to keep moving, to control your destiny, and to choose your path. And now, that freedom fits in the palm of your hand. It's called Ford Pass. The only
Get your 1024th Fredo merchandise now. It's already live, baby.
Earn points you can use toward
Already live. What's up, Linda? How you doing? I'm actually going to see your boy tonight.
Built to keep you moving. Build that Ford proud. Visit your participating Ford dealership to find out about getting flexible complimentary maintenance.
Everything's a mess.
A new Ford and sign up for rewards.
Roadside assistance is included for certain Ford owners and available.
What is it, Tuesday?
Ford reserves the right to change program details.
Tuesday,
Visit
the
your participating
13th.
dealer or FordPassRewards.com for program rules and restrictions. Ford Pass, compatible with select smartphone platforms, is available via a download.
All right, folks, here we go. Except I can't hear anything. Thanks.
Hendrickson on News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel, your breaking news and weather station.
Did my old microphone is what I did because I wasn't paying attention. So I did my old microphone and I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? I can't hear myself. What's happening? Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a little bit of a hectic afternoon, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the program today. Casey Hendrickson here, phone number 574-2595-953. That is 2595-953. You can also send a text message to 45364. Please put MNC at the beginning of that message. And I do want to thank our sponsor, Second Amendment Arms and Range, located in New Carlisle. And if you mention me, get half off your range time. Go to secondamendmentarms.net. All right, lot to get to today. I don't know. Here's the thing. I want to start with the Chris Cuomo thing, but it's not the biggest story in the world. So I'm like trying to figure out, do I do it or do I not do it? And my better judgment tells me not to do it. My selfishness tells me to do it because I want to talk about it so badly. But I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to wait. All right. So we'll get to it here in a little bit, maybe in the 3 o'clock hour. If not in the 4 o'clock hour, we'll talk about Fredo Cuomo and this whole Fredo controversy. And FYI, if you go to facebook.com/Casey the host, I've got a link where you can get your own 1024th Fredo merchandise from my store. I've already made it. I already made it, and it is available. I got some t-shirts, some tank tops, some coffee mugs. I actually have my own 1024th Fredo coffee mug coming. So I basically took a line art graph of a screen grab of Chris Cuomo from his show, and I just turned it into line art, and then I added the font underneath it. So real easy, but still funny, and it's going to trigger a lot of people. So anyway, go to facebook.com/Casey the host. You can click on that link and purchase yo merchandise. All right. I want to talk about Hong Kong. Let's talk about Hong Kong first. I haven't really spent a lot of time on the radio show talking about this. I've blogged about it and posted about it on social media, but this Hong Kong thing is getting kind of nuts, and it's been happening for weeks now. We thought that maybe it was going to die down after the government of Hong Kong said, all right, we're not going to let the Chinese take over, but it's not. It's continuing to happen. But for me, I think one of the most amazing things about what is happening in Hong Kong, for those of you who don't know, Hong Kong is basically autonomous and used to be a part of the UK, obviously. UK kind of turned them over, and now what is happening is the Chinese Communist government is saying that they're going to now start to implement their laws on Hong Kong. And there was this whole legal thing that happened, and people were protesting. People in Hong Kong are free. They're free, just like you and I are free. And obviously, people in China are not. So people in Hong Kong are fighting literally right now for their freedom. And they're trying to do it in a somewhat passive way, though there have been clashes with the authorities and things of that nature. Let me just go to the week, okay? Hong Kong seems to be heading to a Tiananmen-like situation with thousands of protesters thronging the streets. Chinese media has already warned of potential terrorism rising in the country and even accused the U.S. of supporting the riots. A video posted on Twitter shows pro-democracy supporters in Hong Kong waving the American flag during the fury of the Beijing-backed government. Now, here's the thing. We're not talking about one person. We are talking about a bunch of them waving the American flag. They sang the national anthem. This is in Hong Kong. That's never been a U.S. territory, ever. But look, our country is where people who aren't free look to for inspiration and strength. That's just how it is. Now, I get it. The latte sipping, finger pointing troglodytes out there don't view this country that way because they've never been anywhere else. And the people who do venture outside of the U.S. to prove that these cesspools, these bleep holes, if you will, around the world are actually really wonderful places to go, almost all of them end up dead. You realize that? Now, I'm talking about activists, I'm talking about social justice warriors, and I'm talking about journalists. They go to these countries like Somalia, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, things like, and they end up dying. They get abducted by terrorists or jihadists or something of that nature, and they end up being killed in an effort to prove that these places are just as good as America. I got news for you. They're not. They're not. And for all of our faults, I'm going to quote Lieutenant Colonel Randolph C. White, paraphrasing, I should say. For all of our faults, I can think of no place greater. And really, honestly, that is it. There are other good places out there, but there aren't any other places out there who are as good as we are when it comes to the freedom that you have here. There are places that enjoy slightly more economic freedom because the governments have learned to get out of their way. But as far as your social freedoms and things like that, no place in this world compares to what we allow and permit you to do. The protest had initially started in angst against a bill introduced in February, which allowed the city's citizens to be extradited by the Chinese government. Despite a suspicion of the bill, citizens have demanded more political and democratic reforms. Hong Kong's autonomy from China runs out in 2045, putting the city's future in jeopardy should the city fall into the communist regime. China's foreign ministry spokesperson said on Monday at a press conference that the U.S. and the UK had openly endorsed the demonstrations, thus fueling the protests. First of all, we haven't. Second of all, I wish we would. I wish we would. To my knowledge, President Trump hasn't done any such thing, nor has there been an official capacity for the UK or the US who has done it. Now, if I'm wrong about that, send it to me, okay? But to my knowledge, there has been nobody in an official capacity who has actually done that. Now, China, of course, they're doing their political spin machine here And they're trying to make it seem like the CIA is involved in this and everything. By the way, I hope they are. Okay? I hope that these people don't get killed, don't get me wrong. But I certainly do hope that the United States and the United Kingdom would be backing free citizens of Hong Kong from being oppressed by a communist overtaker. I would certainly hope that that would be the position of the United States. Obviously, not to the point where we get into armed conflict with China. We should try to avoid that if we can. But there's no reason that we can't apply pressure in order to help these people because they're genuinely concerned. Now, imagine just for a minute, that you are an American, you're living totally free, and all of a sudden the Russians wanted to come in and take away a bunch of your rights. That's what's happening. And it's not fair to them. They obviously don't want it. Let's see. Chinese also accused U.S. political hierarchy of meeting anti-China stakeholders in Hong Kong, thereby criticizing China and instigating activities that undermine the Beijing-backed government. Okay, they don't need any motivation to be worried about China. They live right next door. They don't need any sort of motivation from us. They don't need any information from us. They're a free society who is a pillar of what capitalism can accomplish. And the fact that they feel like, and they're not wrong, the fact that they feel like their freedoms are at serious risk and jeopardy here, especially with everything that's happening with the social credit score and all this crap in China right now, like why on earth would you ever want to be absorbed into that when you come from one of the most prosperous and technologically advanced places on earth? Why would you ever allow, and China is still a third world, okay? Why would you ever allow a third world communist government to take you over? Because that's exactly what they're attempting to do. Now, again, in Hong Kong, 2045, if no additional deal is struck, by 2045, it'll be reabsorbed into China. Who knows what China is going to look like in 2045? But this was a move to go ahead and make China be able to extradite citizens of Hong Kong to China to face persecution under Chinese communist laws when Hong Kong has a totally different legal system. And things that are perfectly legal in Hong Kong are not legal in China. So why on God's green earth would you want China to be able to extradite you over into their country for things that you do when it's not been a criminal offense in your entire life? And again, especially when we're talking about social media credit scores and things of that nature. But if you look at these images here, they are multiple people waving the American flag. Obviously, this is a symbol of freedom and liberty to everybody around the world, but it's also something that is designed to draw sympathy, because if there is going to be a group of people that sympathize with the people of Hong Kong, it will be us. Just like when the Brits wanted to separate from the European Union. Is it fine if the Brits stay in the European Union? Certainly. Is it going to affect our relationship with the Brits at all? No, it's not going to. We're still going to be friends and allies with them. Now, there's obviously going to be some economic stuff, but it's not going to be a big deal. We've had a great working relationship before the Brits were a part of the EU and after the Brits were a part of the EU. But what ended up happening is Americans supported the British effort to Brexit because Americans believe that the British people are capable of running their own country without foreign influence. And we believe in their capabilities of doing that. We also happen to know that Germany and Britain bore the majority of the negatives of being absorbed into the European Union. I remember when the European Union was being created, and I remember looking at this and going, why on God's green earth would Germany and England sign on to this? Every other country joining this thing is a terrible economy and worthless currency, and they don't have manufacturing capabilities. They don't produce anything. They're mostly social welfare states. And here you've got the UK and Germany, who are manufacturing powerhouses and economic powerhouses, and they're just going to foot the bill for all of it. And finally, the Brits had enough of it. So Americans were the ones in the international community. Americans were the ones that looked at England and said, yeah, we get it. Brexit, run. We'll support you. We'll back you up. In spirit, obviously not in arms or anything like that. And there were plenty of Americans out there, other than President Obama, who threatened England with economic repercussions if they left. There are plenty of Americans out there going, yeah, no, we'll still do business with you. This isn't going to be a problem. And, of course, we all know what's been happening with Brexit. But it wasn't because we hated the English or hated the European Union that we supported them. It was because we understood the cry for freedom. And we're looking at this in Hong Kong, and the people of Hong Kong who are demonstrating out there, they understand that we understand that. And so when they sing our national anthem and put our American flag up there, yes, it's because it's a symbol of freedom and liberty, but also because they know that Americans will sympathize and at least publicly give them moral support. And that is exactly what we've been seeing happen on social media. We've got more coming up. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
Casey Hendrickson.
News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
Your breaking news and weather station.
Weather served up by
All right.
5 years of exceptional food, tremendous service, and great people. Visit Prime Table today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
Wish I had more time to record that. Chris asked me to record something, and I've got a meeting after the show today.
Yeah.
For an isolated shower, otherwise though stays a little bit drier. With lows tonight dropping down near 60, and then we'll see if there's some clouds overnight.
Yeah, there you go, Roland.
High of 78 degrees, partly cloudy skies though. But once we get to the afternoon and evening, we'll start to see a few more isolated showers and even thunderstorms possible. With lows dropping down near 61 for Wednesday night. For Thursday, maybe a great shower in the morning. Otherwise, a lot of sunshine as we head throughout the day. But everything cooler with a high of 76. For Friday, we're right back up near 80 degrees with mostly sunny skies. Next rain chance comes our way on Saturday. In the ABC 57 First Warning Neighborhood Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Emily Kennedy.
95.3 MNC was South Bend Symphony Orchestra tickets.
Yeah! South Bend Symphony Orchestra tickets.
Michiana's news channel. Would you like to talk to Casey?
95.3, Michiana's news channel.
Message and data rate supply.
When those giant scissors come out for a grand opening ceremony, it's the staff that's in the photo. And behind the scenes of any office or industrial build are numerous contractors tirelessly taking dreams
Alrighty, well, I'll get that out there as soon as I can.
on schedule and on budget. From the very first step to the final phase,
Right.
you need the trusted experience.
Yeah.
Thank you, you
Get
too.
your Cuomo merch.
Electric has the tools and the experience to make
Just north of the state line.
assess a project with a level of
Ooh, Casey, the host clips.
positive results to
Is that you, Alex?
and if you're positive, then we can help you with your commercial or industrial project. One call does it all. 574-522-4444. That's 574-522-4444. Let us take the guesswork out of your project and help you sleep easy. You've got better things to do. Let us hook you up. Find Final Things Electric on Facebook or visit finalthingselectric.net. There's been some taco around town. The Monterey Mexican Bar and Grill.
Sorry, I'm trying to set another appointment tomorrow, which got all jacked up. So,
Remember the phrase, "The bird gets the breakfast burrito"? Breakfast is now served 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. daily at your favorite Mexican restaurant, Monterey Mexican
everything's a
Bar and
mess.
Grill. Monterey's breakfast
All right.
menu boasts the same high quality.
Swizzo Dizzo.
Made fresh daily to keep you coming back week after week. Try Mexican and American breakfast classics with some new items mixed in alongside your favorite hot and cold breakfast beverages with 3 alcoholic options to choose from too. From burritos and skillets to combos and omelets, Monterey's new breakfast is something you need to experience. And the best part is
Yeah,
you can
Casey,
dine
it's
in
something
or
you
order
need
to
to
go on your way to work and
You do.
they'll make it
You need to
delivered
experience
you.
it.
Off McKinley Avenue, just past Division Street and online at MontereyMexican.com.
You know this.
Wake up early with Monterey Mexican Bar and Grill for breakfast. You know it's what you want.
Although, have you had their breakfast yet?
No.
The breakfast is good.
I'm getting married today. Do you have the ring?
Great
Do I
coffee.
look okay?
Son,
That's
it's
what I've
all
heard.
taken care of. You buttoned up nice. And the ring is with Bobby. Honestly,
Comcast is here trying to figure this out.
Yeah, they've been going in and out. That's fine.
Is that, are you okay with
Yeah,
that?
yep.
Okay.
dresses
Yep.
and clothes all over the house for the next month. Your mom is very excited.
As long as he keeps his
She
mouth
says
shut.
everything will be perfect. She's getting ready now, and I'm sure she's a hot mess.
Dad, don't worry. I sent her to Judy's.
From Mother of the Intended, spring, summer, and fall fashions, Judy's has the perfect fit for any special occasion. Browse through top designers with specially trained associates, Judy Girls, who provide personal color and style analysis, and weave one-of-a-kind dresses like Molsheri Komarov that can't be found anywhere else in the area. The Judy Girls won't let you leave the store without something that doesn't look just right. Judy's, it's the best brands for the best you. With locations in LaPorte, Granger, and now open
All right,
in
open up some
Valparaiso.
texting services since I'm way behind on
I'm ready
everything
to work,
today.
but I'm not sure the college is for me. I keep hearing there are plenty of good jobs out there, but I don't have the right skills to get one.
How many Hong Kong
I just can't
demonstrators took a knee during our national anthem?
With Indiana's Next Level Jobs program, you can get the free job training you need to take your life to the next level. Learn more at nextleveljobs.org.
Casey, you're probably aware of it, but Judicial Watch is investigating Mayor Pete. Yes, we talked about it when it broke. Yes, I am very aware of it. But thank you for the heads up, just in case I wasn't. Yeah, it's not in the description yet, Alex. I'll get it there, man. It's on Facebook at facebook.com/Casey the host. Again, just behind on everything, so I got to do things in little steps. Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for tuning
in. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel. Once again, I am your host, Casey Hendrickson. Phone number 574-2595, 95.3. That is 2595-953. You can also send a text message to 45364. Please put MNC at the beginning of that message. Somebody sent me a text and said, Casey, how many of the demonstrators in Hong Kong took a knee during the national anthem? And the answer to that is none. Because they're not stupid. All right. I posted about this. It was a grenade, if you will. It was a trap. I haven't checked the trap lately, but I posted about it. And like, they're more patriotic than the radical left is in the United States. So somebody's going to take the bait if they haven't already. It's gonna happen. All right. There's a panic in Sydney, Australia today. A knife man screaming the Protestant war cry of Allahu Akbar. He slit a woman's throat and he began stabbing people. And of course, this is an increasing problem with radical Protestants. And like I said, I don't know what can be done about it, but we may want to consider some form of legislation restricting radical Protestant speech in this country so it doesn't get to the point that it is overseas. So this is the UK Sun. Heroes have fought off a knife-wielding attacker with a chair before pinning him to the ground with a milk crate. The photo of this guy being pinned to the ground with a milk crate is flipping hysterical. They literally have the opening of the milk crate over his head, and the milk crate is choking him. It's awesome. So anyway, the suspect was filmed yelling Allahu Akbar and shoot me in the bleeping face as he ran through the Australian city. Now, of course, shooting him in the bleeping face is a little bit more difficult in Australia than it is in, say, I don't know, Texas. So if you would have tried this in Texas, somebody would have probably obliged. In Australia, not so much. So he had a bloody knife before witnesses, including 3 Brits, tackled him to the ground. Then you got a bunch of photos of the wackadoodle. I think he actually broke his knife. Looks like he broke his knife. He used a cheap little knife, and it actually broke in half. Let's see, lots of like video, Twitter video, and things like that I obviously can't play for you. Dramatic footage showed one man bravely confronting the apparent knifeman, with his chair after he jumped onto a car. Witnesses, since praised for their bravery, have appeared to apprehend the suspect in the scene, pinning him down under the chair and putting a milk crate on his head. Police say that a 21-year-old woman was found dead in a separate crime scene and confirmed it was linked to today's rampage. They said the 21-year-old suspect stabbed a 41-year-old woman in the back and was rushed to the hospital where she is now in stable condition. He slit the woman who died. I believe he slit her throat, and then the other woman he stabbed in the back. She's recovering, thank God. He's been identified as Mert Ney by multiple media outlets. 3 Brits have since recounted the moment that they ran out to pin the suspect to the ground. Let's see, all from Manchester. Were working in the area when they heard the man attempting to stab several people outside. They told the Australian paper, we had a window open to get some air, and then we just heard a commotion. We looked out, saw him on top of a car wielding a knife, and we all just kind of reacted at the same time. We just tried to get down as quick as we could. You don't think, you just kind of react, really. It was surreal, very, very surreal. Isn't that weird? You don't think about it, you just kind of react. It's almost like it's, an instinct to react. And yet we have a bunch of people running around and telling people that people don't never do this. No, it's just some hero complex that you have. You never react to something like this again. And yet we have thousands of people who do it every single year. We all kind of chased, worked together, but it was Luke who was the real hero. He pursued him the hardest and managed to get a grip on him. So again, they kind of go into the story here. They pinned the guy down, but like I said, he stabbed several people. This was a mass public stabbing type incident, and he did murder a woman, attempted to murder several others while yelling Allahu Akbar. So again, it's just, one of those things we got to make people aware of, that this happens routinely. And I guess because it's Australia, this got a lot of attention in traditional press over in the UK. I suppose in the UK, the reason it's being covered is because 3 Brits were responsible for apprehending the guy. And if the Brits weren't responsible at all, I don't know that it would have gotten any play in the UK media at all, let alone in the United States. Now, the new media and the conservative media out there covers these things all the time, which is why you hear about them so much on this show and in others. Because again, it's important that people understand that mass knifings happen routinely, regularly, quite frequently, especially in China, where they are very common. In the UK, they are also extremely common. In Australia, less so, okay? But it still does happen. And so if we don't let people know that there are additional dangers out there, what we allow to happen is this narrative that there is no other crime but AR-15 crime, which isn't true. In fact, AR-15s, as you already know, and I know that I'm repeating myself, but it's important that I say this on a regular basis for potentially new people who come in and listen to the program. AR-15s are almost never used in a crime. They're extremely rarely used. In fact, all rifles are rarely used in any crime. The FBI statistics, which you can take a look at, they're freely available. We have about 2 months before the latest edition comes out, and because it typically comes out in October. But it will come out and it will tell you that you're more likely to be killed with a hammer, a blunt force object, or bare hands than any rifle. So yes, they are used in some mass shooting incidents, but in mass shooting incidents where a rifle is the sole weapon, account for 13% of mass shootings. 13%. And then, of course, you have more where there's a rifle and a pistol. But the vast majority of mass shootings, over 50%, are done with a handgun and handgun alone. Okay? But you would know that because the media makes it seem like everybody uses an AR-15 to do these things, and AR-15s take 60,000 people's lives a year, which, of course, is preposterous and utterly untrue. So we only tell you these stories so you're aware that they happen on a regular basis, and it's not just guns that you have to be worried about. If somebody is killed with a gun and somebody is killed with a knife, why is the person who's killed with a gun considered more important and of more value than the person killed with a knife? And what the gun control crowd tells you is the person who's killed with a gun is certainly more important and more worthy of attention than the person killed with a knife. And what ends up happening is people who are pro-gun will tell you, no, they're both victims and they deserve to be covered equally. And again, firearms are far more likely to be used in the prevention of a crime than in the commission of a crime. We have more coming up on Newstalk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
This is Michiana's breaking news and weather.
All right. Let me get that link up for everybody. We shouldn't even have a Donald Street because the president's racist. Yep, they did. They changed the whole streaming platform. Oh, YouTube has a create highlights while live function now.
No.
That's new. Totally new. Interesting. All right, I'm updating YouTube.
No, you're fine.
You can come in. Yeah, it's if the microphone light is on, just try and keep your voice down a little bit. But you can totally come in and work, man. It's not a problem.
All right, well, you could go. So I'm not sure what's going on here.
Okay.
But it was something outside. They were doing some work over there, and they nicked your line. So I think that's why I was getting ready to go in and out, and then some rain and stuff happened.
That makes sense.
Line went bad. So I put a new one out there. And so now that's why we're back on.
Perfect. Thank you for the help.
Okay.
Do you have a separate remote for the other TV, Casey?
No, it's the one remote for both TVs.
You have to get real close to the box so that way it registers on that box to do it.
Okay. So is this one working or how is this one?
No idea. I don't even mess with him. Our morning guy is the one that likes his daytime soap operas and crap. So.
Oops, and I turned them both off. Sorry, Casey.
Not a problem. I haven't used them for a couple of days. It's cool.
Oh, there we go.
Weather sponsored by.
Just tell us if we need to shut up.
Okay, so I'm digging this new highlight function.
What?
On YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube has just added. You can make highlights live while you're broadcasting.
I hate when
This
you
camera's
do that
there.
when I walk in here.
What?
And then there's a camera there.
Facebook Live.
Just assume that you're always on camera when you come in here, and thousands of people are watching you.
There you go, Casey.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yep. All right. Have a good day.
All right, you too.
All right, thanks.
Be safe out there.
All right, thank you.
In the AB67 First Warning Neighborhood Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Ellen Kennedy.
Finally got our TVs fixed in the studio.
Whoa.
Did he say where they were doing the work outside?
No, he didn't. If he did, I
So
didn't
somebody snipped our
register.
lines while they were doing work?
Sounds like it.
Oh my God.
With the Tuesday closing farm market report, and we have the same story in the corn market today after the Monday.
I actually saw a couple of people filling out applications for Chick-fil-A today.
Yeah, I saw a couple people out there when I got there here today.
She was all sorts of wavy to me when I left work yesterday.
Yeah, I was surprised they were still out there with all the rain.
I was too. It was late too. I mean, God, it was after 6 o'clock.
March corn 390, that was down 13 and a quarter.
All right. We'll talk about some Fredo.
889 up 9 3/4. Up a quarter on September wheat 472. Expanded limits in the cattle
My
market.
allergies are going
Live
nuts.
stock October went down that limit.
Absolutely
$4.50
nuts.
off 99.25. October
Okay.
lean hogs 64.
All right. So if you refresh on YouTube, it should have a link to the Fredo T-shirt, which you can also get other merchandise in the little sidebar. But that's just in my online store with my other merchandise. So.
Modern Kitchen on McKinley, east of Ash Road in Elkhart.
What did I get? What?
Business Network on Wall Street, the major averages are sharply higher in the final hour of trading after the White House delays import tariffs on consumer goods from China. The news sending shares of companies that
There's always soap operas and Jerry Springer and crap like that on in the studio when we get here.
It's either that or Fox News is usually on 9 times.
Yeah, we will have Fox News on one channel, but then he kind of
always
leaves it
has
on ABC.
It's ABC or CW for some reason. Which is weird to me. But.
So Alex, if you refresh YouTube, the link should be in the description on YouTube. It should be there for everybody. And I did post it earlier. I can post it again, so it should go to all of the platforms in the chat right here. So let's do that.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. 30% of Americans who are planning
There
home
you go.
improvements of $5,000 or more will pay for those renovations.
What's up, Tracy? How you doing?
That may not be a great idea. A better idea may be to take cash.
Yeah, I got a nice little
30-year fixed rate mortgage. The
nice little check from Cafe Press yesterday. I had created a liberal tears mug a while ago, and I totally forgot about it. And apparently, it's been selling like hotcakes. So people have been buying it. I think I created that thing like a year ago, and it just started blowing up in the past 3 months. So got a nice commission check today. Yeah.
Money.
You know it. I'll take it. Every little bit helps, man. Every little bit. Yeah, I figured you did. I was just being extra super redundant. What's up, Speed? Thank you for the 5 bits, man.
BS.
Look at that. Speed's in first place. Enjoy it, buddy. You deserve it. You've been working hard for that.
Get them used to coming to work. Get them used to punching in on time. Send them out in the open job market and let them fly. They gave me structure.
Speed, you know what? I haven't checked my email to see if you got back to me when I sent you those files or not. Let me do that.
There, Casey.
It's seriously, I need an assistant. It's not even a joke.
Our sole focus is the families and individuals we help every
For
day.
real.
We're not here to just beat our chest about our experience and education. While
He
that
said
may be important, we're really here to discuss you and the challenges you'll face in retirement. You are unique, and we're willing to put in the time.
No, Alex, because Shapiro didn't come up with it, and I made it before Shapiro did. So he better not. He can try, but Shapiro did not come up with the liberal tiers thing. That has been a thing for, I don't know, a good 8 or 9 years, man. Before anybody even knew who he was.
866-482-9559. We're here to talk about you. 866-482-9559. 866-482-9559. Or just
Damn it, I thought it was a customer inquiry. It turns out it's just some company trying to sell me holsters. Somebody was asking me to make them a holster. Nope.
Cash for Trash is back from R&B Car Company in Warsaw and South Bend with 600 vehicles to choose from and $2,500 minimum for your trade or an additional $2,500 for your hoot beater. Clunker's gotta go. We'll take bikes, lawnmowers, snowmobiles, watercraft.
Yeah, she has. You know she's been watching those ads, dude. She's all over those ads. Oh, there she goes.
Michiana's News Channel. Would you like to talk to
bits,
Casey?
thank you very much.
Can I ask what you're calling about, please? Hello?
Oh, was it leftist tears? That's probably why he changed it.
Can I ask what you're calling about, please?
That would make sense if he changed it to that. I think that Crowder had a liberal tears mug too, didn't he? All right, here we go.
Studios, from the first step to the final phase, commercial electrical convergence. This is Casey Hendrickson.
And good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel. I am your host, Casey Hendrickson. Phone number 574-25-95-95.3. That is 2595-953. You can also send a text message to 45364. Please put MNC at the beginning of that message. We are live streaming on youtube.com/Casey the host and also on facebook.com/Casey the host and twitch.tv/Casey the host. And I've also created some 1024th Fredo merchandise in honor of Fredo, Chris Fredo Cuomo, I should say. And he had that absolute conniption fit, that meltdown that ended up occurring. Was it yesterday or over the weekend or something like that? On that guy who literally, I think this guy thought that he might be named Fredo. I don't know. It sure seems like he might have thought that Chris Cuomo was named Fredo. But then it seemed like he understood a little bit into the exchange that it wasn't. I'm not going to play you the audio. I know that some people have already edited it, and I know that news agencies have done it. And I could have pulled something like that, but no, I want to read you the transcript of what Chris Cuomo said. Now, Chris Cuomo is one of the two absolute lowest common denominators at CNN. And obviously the other one is being Dumb Lemon, and then you have Fredo Cuomo. Now, again, these are two individuals that are routinely proven wrong on a regular basis and make outlandish, frivolous, false claims. When you talk about fake news, Don Lemon, Chris Cuomo are the epitome poster boys of that. Okay, even more so than some of the other people on MSNBC. These two are the lowest common denominator, and that's exactly who they preach to on their their television programs. So anyway, CNN host Chris Cuomo faces humiliation after getting in a confrontation with a Trump fan who called him Fredo, with Cuomo claiming that Fredo is the Italian version of the N-word. It's not. Nobody who's Italian has ever thought that. The idea that Chris Cuomo would spread that is a perfect example of, again, fake news. Now, first of all, Chris Cuomo loses his temper every time he's made fun of. He really doesn't like people mocking him. And he does. He loses his temper. There have been people for many years who speculated that Chris Cuomo might be on some form of dope which causes him to have a very short temper. I don't know if that's true or not. There's been some rumors of steroid use and things of that nature. I don't have any evidence of any of that. Okay. So I don't know. I just wanted to get it out of the way because I know that people are talking about it. And somebody asked me today if they thought that he was drunk. I don't know. But he routinely behaves this way when somebody insults him or he thinks that somebody insults him. So anyway, my name is Chris Cuomo. I'm an anchor on CNN. Fredo was from The Godfather. He was the weak brother, and they use it as an Italian aspersion. Are any of you Italian, he said. Are you Italian? It's a bleeping insult to your people. It's an insult to your bleeping people. It's like the N-word for us, Cuomo said. No, it's not. No, it is no Italian person I have ever known in my entire life is considered Fredo to be any kind of a slur. Okay? You're going to have a bleeping problem. I'll bleeping ruin your bleep. I'll bleeping throw you down the stairs like a bleeping punk, Cuomo added. Now, that was later on in the exchange. So when you actually get into the nuts and bolts and the full exchange with Cuomo, I mean, it gets to the point, the guy basically is just asking him for a picture. And he loses his mind. The guy listens to Rush Limbaugh on a regular basis. Rush always calls Chris Cuomo Fredo. It's, one of those things. And here's the thing. I have run into this before where I've had nicknames for people and callers have called and they thought that was the real name of the person. So it is absolutely 100% plausible that somebody believes that his name is Fredo. Okay? I don't know if this guy believed his name was Fredo or if he was intentionally insulting the guy. Regardless, insulting the guy like that is not warranted for the reaction that he got. Okay, Chris Cuomo's reaction was not warranted. So where's the full? I want to get the full transcript here because it's in another piece that I put down there because I wanted to read the entire thing in context for you, but I'll get to that in a second. But here's the thing. Okay, you've got CNN now defending Chris Cuomo by saying. Okay, this is CNN's public relations people. Chris Cuomo defended himself when he was verbally attacked with the use of an ethnic slur in an orchestrated setup, and we completely support him. There is no ethnic slur. Fredo is not an ethnic slur. Do you know what Fredo means, Joe? Do you have any idea what Fredo means? Okay, Fredo means the black sheep of the family. That's what it means. If you're Fredo, you're the black sheep, okay? It's Joy Behar. Black sheep is not a racial slur either, okay? Since we know that you tend to get confused about those things. So it is simply saying that this is the black sheep. And by the way, Cuomo is the black sheep of CNN. Well, he and Don Lemon both, because they're not considered at the level of the other individuals, nor do they conduct themselves as such. Okay. The fact that Don Lemon was able to moderate those debates is one of the most laughable things in all of political history. So you've got CNN defending it. CNN is pushing the fake news that Fredo is a slur against Italian people. I dated a very prominent Italian girl for many, many, many years. Never came up. Known Italian mafia members my whole life. Never came up. Never been a thing with the Italian culture at all. And I've been surrounded by them my entire life. It has never been a thing. And in fact, I know many Italians who still call people Fredo. And it's simply the black sheep. Like you're the dunce, you're the idiot, you're the useless waste of oxygen in the family. You're the one that doesn't accomplish anything. That's what it means. And if you look at Chris Cuomo's career, it's a perfect description of him and his career by Rush Limbaugh. So that's why he calls him Fredo. Now, here's the thing. Fredo has been used by Chris Cuomo and on Chris Cuomo's television program many times, and he's never had an issue with it. And all of a sudden, he had an issue with it because somebody came up and called him Fredo. I'm going to get to that coming up on Newstalk 95.3, Michiana's news channel. Weather served up by the Prime
Restaurant in Niles. Does your family or group meet regularly for breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Just call the Prime Table to reserve tables for your next gathering. Here's the actual, get that whole friggin' exchange here. There we go. That's where it is. Just buried a little bit further. I made a little something for you all.
Wednesday, high of 78 degrees, partly cloudy skies, though once we get to the afternoon and evening, we'll start to see a few more isolated showers and even thunderstorms possible, with lows dropping down near 61 for Wednesday night. For Thursday, maybe a lingering shower in the morning, otherwise a lot of sunshine as we head throughout the day, but definitely cooler with a high of 76. For Friday, we're right back up near 80 degrees with mostly sunny skies. Next rain chance comes our way on Saturday. In the ABC 67 First Warning Neighborhood Weather Center, I'm
Wow. She slurred her words almost more than I do. Almost. Not quite, though. She's got a few more beers to get in her first. What?
Hi, this is Dwayne Miller with Good Faith Management, and I buy houses cash. If you own a house and want to sell it fast and for a fair price, call me at 574-294-5678. I can pay cash and close in as little as 7 days.
God, I'm a mess
I buy
today.
houses in any condition, any price range, and in any location. I am not a realtor or a
Does anybody else's like young kid run around pretending to do Pokemon battles at like 6 in the morning?
At 6 in the morning.
God.
574-294-5678. I buy inherited houses, divorce houses, behind in payment houses. I even buy my tenant will pay me their rent houses. If you own a house that is trash and needs thousands of dollars in repairs, great, because I love buying damaged houses.
Oh, is this guy done these videos before? Okay, I don't know anything about this guy. So,
If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at 574-294-5678 for a cash offer today. That's 574-294.
yeah, if he's done videos like in this in the past, then that's clearly something that he's doing. And that's, you know, which is fine. Cuomo's response to that was not okay. I would have been in big trouble if this happened with me.
$15.95 a month, you can get an unlimited amount of washings. For that, there's no reason you won't have the best looking vehicle on the road. Auto Spa also lets you control your wash. Pull up in the bay and get it run by hand. Or drive through your automatic wash and get on your
Somebody said, Casey, if Hannity did this, the liberal media would be asking for his head. Yes, you're right. And another person, if somebody on Fox News did a Fredo rant, the mainstream media would have him fired because of how much coverage it would be on it.
One issue.
Yeah.
Retail store clerks may fail to check IDs or may sell
Take care,
vapor
Tracy.
in quantities. That's why Jewel Labs is working with retailers to deploy point-of-sale technology.
Tracy and Speed had a nice little battle of bits today on Twitch. That was funny.
To prevent bulk sales. Learn more about Jewel Labs' efforts to combat youth vaping at jewel.com/youth-prevention. Jewel Labs, for adult smokers only. Paid for by Jewel Labs.
Ever wonder why Europeans speak so many languages? Maybe it's because they use Babbel, the #1 selling language learning app in Europe. Babbel's 10 to 15-minute lessons and award-winning technology can have you speaking Spanish, French, or German within weeks.
I always thought I was bad at languages, but after using Babbel, I can tell you I was just taught the wrong way.
Now, try Babbel free. Go to Babbel.com or download the app. That's Babbel, BABBEL.com, or download the app to try for free.
Well, see, and that's just it, Alex. Like somebody's trying to antagonize you. There are some things to respond to if you're being antagonized, and I don't have a problem with somebody, you know, responding in kind. But he's also fabricating this false narrative about Fredo in order to puff himself up. And that's kind of a pet peeve of mine, is when somebody pretends that something has happened even though it hasn't happened in order to make themselves more angry. It's like they're trying to hype themselves up before they're going into the octagon or something.
The top local stories, updated all the time on 953MSC.com. From News Talk 953 Michiana's news channel, your breaking news and weather station.
And good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel. Jeez. I'm a mess today, dude. What is it, only Wednesday? No, it's Tuesday? Oh, my God. I'm in for a long week. What can I do? We're talking about Fredo. 574-2595, 95.3. That is 2595-953. Some people on the live stream said that the guy who recorded the video is known for doing these types of videos, so appears that it was intentional. And as many of you pointed out in the text messaging, and I kind of highlighted this, if I had reacted the way that Cuomo reacted, my boss would be furious, absolutely furious. And if, as some people in the text messaging have said, if Sean Hannity had gone off on somebody like this, it would have been a huge deal. If anybody at Fox News had gone off on somebody like this, it would have been a huge deal. You remember when they were stalking Brian Kilmeade for like a whole week? You remember that? Harassing him everywhere he went? He never responded like this, ever. Brian Kilmeade was a professional and a gentleman the entire time. And do you know what happened? The entire media complex, left, right, multiple networks defended him. This is what Cuomo did is ridiculous. Now, my pet peeve with this is that Cuomo is lying about the term Fredo being a slur against Italians. It's not. It never has been. It's never been considered one. I can't say it never will be because the language is always changing. We're finding new things to be offensive nowadays. But it's never been considered an insult towards Italian people ever. And the idea that all of a sudden it would be doesn't make any sense. Oh, and Chris Cuomo has used the term on his show. Okay. Then you have Anna Navarro. She called one of the Trump kids, Trump Jr., I believe, Fredo, on Chris Cuomo's show. And Cuomo didn't care a lick about it. In fact, this is how that... Cue up my audio. I'm going to play it. This is Anna Navarro on Chris Cuomo's television show calling one of the Trump kids, I believe Jr., a Fredo. Okay, so I want you to listen to this.
Daddy kept Fredo back home. So who cares what Donald Trump Jr. says? Who cares what Donald Trump Jr. says? Fredo, 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 Fredo. Who cares what Donald Trump Jr. says? Fredo, Fredo, Fredo. Fredo, who cares what Donald Trump Jr. says? Fredo, Fredo, Fredo. Who cares what Donald Trump Jr. says? Who cares what Donald Trump Jr. says? Fredo, Fredo, Fredo.
Yeah, the new single from DJ Me, Fredo, is going to be released soon here, ladies and gentlemen. You got a world premiere of it just there. That was Anna Navarro. Again, she was on Chris Cuomo's program, and she called Trump Jr. Fredo. And Cuomo didn't jump in. He didn't care a lick. He wasn't offended by it. He did not care. Okay, so this is my pet peeve is not only that he's lying about this being an ethnic slur in order to go ahead and create some false narrative, but I particularly don't like people who lie about stuff in order to make themselves more angry. Okay, there are people who do this like before fights and things like that, where they will fabricate something in their mind that didn't happen, and then make it a personal slight against them when it didn't happen in order to make themselves more angry, to amp themselves up before an argument or a fight or something like that. It's just always been a pet peeve of mine. And so here you've got Cuomo out there doing it. Now, do you remember the other day when I said that if Beto O'Rourke had his way with gun laws and red flag laws and things like that, that he himself would not legally be allowed to own a firearm based on his former writings, okay? Because Beto O'Rourke wrote that he used to fantasize about running children over with his car, and that he wanted to go out there and kill people on a regular basis, okay? This is not fabricated stuff. He wrote these things. Now, for the record, my personal belief on that is writing things down might be a cause for concern, but is not a justifying reason to go ahead and take away your rights. But Beto O'Rourke does not believe that. So by Beto O'Rourke's own standard, he should not be allowed to own a firearm. Well, the same is for Cuomo. And President Trump nailed him on this today. Says a good thing he's not armed. And that if red flag laws were in place, now all of a sudden Chris Cuomo wouldn't be able to own a firearm. He's 100% right. Trump Jr., by the way, is the one that posted the originally, I believe, the video of Anna Navarro calling him Fredo. on Cuomo's program where Cuomo didn't care about any of it. He just nailed them to the wall after CNN's public outreach had already said, no, we defended him against an ethnic slur. So then the narrative now becomes, okay, if it's an ethnic slur and one of your hosts is really offended by that ethnic slur, why is it that CNN has continued to allow, one, him to use it, and two, guests on his own show to use that word? Why is this continued to be an issue with CNN if it really is an ethnic slur, which it's never been considered an ethnic slur? So they're just fabricating another fake hate story in order to go ahead and make people angry. So now today, you're actually seeing most Italians are running around going, this is not a slur. But you're running into a bunch of people who are not Italian going, this is horrible. This has always been a slur. I've never called any of my Italian friends a Fredo because I've known this my whole time. And meanwhile, Italians are sitting there going, no, this has never been a slur. Everybody knows what Fredo means. It means black sheep. And anybody who says otherwise is a flat out liar, period, end of story. 574-2595, 95.3. That is 2595-953. I've got students signing a petition to ban that little crosswalk guy. You know, the little walking guy? Yeah, students want to ban that dude. Got a nice little video clip of that coming up on News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
WTRC FM and HD1, Niles, South Bend, Elkhart.
Woo! Look at the Dow go. Yeah, and somebody sent me a text. Yes, Cuomo also claimed that being called fake news was like being called the N-word. No, he routinely gets super butthurt about that. Doesn't like being made fun of. All right, so the video picks up the man saying, "I thought that's who you were," after Cuomo apparently took issue with being called the name from the outset. "No punk-ass bitches from the right call me Fredo," Cuomo said. "I'm an anchor on CNN. Fredo..." This can't go out on the air, right? It's not going on the air?
Shouldn't be.
Okay, I can't hear it in the speaker, but I just want to check, because I'm going to read this verbatim.
Yeah, we're good.
Fredo was on The Godfather. He was the weak brother, and they use it as an Italian aspersion. Any of you Italian, it's a fucking insult to your people. It's an insult to your fucking people. It's like the N-word for us, so is that a cool fucking thing, Cuomo said. "You're a much more reasonable guy in person than you seem to be on television," the man replied. "If you want to play, then we'll fucking play," Cuomo said, beginning to get angry. "If you got something that you want to say about what I do on television, then say it. You're gonna have a big fucking problem. It's a little different on TV. Don't fucking insult me like that. You call me fucking Fredo," Cuomo continued. "It's like I call you punk bitch. You like that? You call me Fredo. You know my name's not Fredo." And so then the guy goes, "Well, what are you gonna do about it?" And then he goes, "I'll fucking ruin your shit. I'll fucking throw you down these stairs like a fucking punk." The guy then says, "Please do." And then Cuomo goes, "Why? So you can fucking sue? Take a fucking swing." And then it's broken up by people. So again, his reaction not only with the language, but he threatened to throw the guy down the stairs, for crying out loud. So if I would have done that, I'd been in big trouble with my employer. Oh my God, you should have seen the look on Steph's face today when I said I need details on my contract. It's like, hey, I asked John before we went on vacation about getting me details on my contract. Can you do that, or do I have to wait till he gets back? And then she's like, do we need to... No, it's not, nothing like that. So, yeah, but she looked real concerned there for a little bit. "Sorry, Steph. Wasn't trying to be that way. But I need it."
So far, only State Health Commissioner Woody Myers has entered the race for the Democrats. Governor Holcomb has raised more than $6 million for his re-election attempt. Senator Eddie Melton of Gary is reportedly still netting a run.
And police in Richmond have made an arrest in a pair of break-ins that happened within 3 hours of each other last week.
The first happened at a home in the 4200 block of Orchard Street. The homeowners arrived at their house around 9:45 p.m. and found a man in the side bedroom. The suspect fled.
Online is unrated. I'm just quoting somebody. You know, you guys, you're going to have some censors because of the bots and stuff like that, but if I'm quoting somebody in an article, I don't care.
Who again fled on foot. He matched the description of the earlier intruder, and soon after, a 43-year-old suspect was taken into custody without incident. He's been identified as Charles Edward Anderson. He pled not guilty and will be back in court on August 27th.
Red Fox concert.
Weather sponsored by
Alright, get the crosswalk dealio up.
Comfort experts, your air conditioning professionals' first morning forecasts.
Partly cloudy this evening and clearing overnight. The humidity will go down. We'll settle into the lower 60s. Wednesday, a nice day, partly cloudy, high of 78, not as humid. Then an isolated shower or thunderstorm possible by the late afternoon.
He should have kept his cool. The news story is just going to make a lot more people call him Fredo. LOL. Yeah, I've got T-shirts now with Fredo on it. I've got a coffee mug coming.
Sign up now at 953mnc.com, your breaking news and weather station. Driving is freedom. The freedom to keep moving, to control your destiny, to choose your path. And now that freedom fits in the palm of
Yeah, I don't know if you have to have more than a basic account for bits, dude. I'm not sure. Do you?
And now when you buy or lease a new Ford, earn points you can use toward flexible.
That's a good question.
Well, more freedom. Ford Pass. Built to
Alright, let me go over. Hold on. Let me go to another person's screen that I don't have.
I guess I could just go.
I'm going to go check out right now on Think Panda because she's streaming. And I follow her, but I don't have anything special. So.
Roadside assistance is included for certain Ford owners and available to everyone for a per service fee. Ford reserves the right to change program details without obligations. Visit your participating dealer or Ford
Guide to cheering with bits.
Celebrate big moments and support your favorite streamers with special animated emotes. Okay.
That's a different.
First time purchase, discount, or skip. Alright. Let's see. Purchase bits. So I have 0 bits. Get bits.
I don't think you need one. I don't think you need Twitch Prime.
Okay, so it says get 5 or more bits by watching short ads, and then that's blocked out, and it says try again later for me. So I don't know.
No, I think you just need a credit card.
Yeah, so they're not letting me do the ad watch thing. Because Tracy watches the ads, and that's how she gets her bits, and then she donates them to Streamer Shillings.
Right.
So Alex is trying to do that, but
of a gas card or Hacienda gift card by donating blood to save lives. Go to giftbloodnow.com.
no, and you know, if you wanted to financially support it, you know, by actually paying money, I mean, that's great, but I'm not asking for anybody to do that. And so maybe the ads just have to be available. I don't know.
Michiana's News Channel, your breaking news and weather station.
And good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel. I am your host, Casey Hendrickson. Yes, that's true. Fredo did say being called fake news is also like being called the N-word. Look, he's routinely really, really upset when people make fun of him. And when you get to the point, I just read his exchange with the other person verbatim on the live stream. Okay, didn't censor anything, just read it verbatim. And the thing isn't just that Chris Cuomo lost his cool, it's that Chris Cuomo threatened to throw somebody down the stairs. He threatened physical violence upon somebody who did not threaten him in any way. And so when CNN comes out there and says that he was defending himself, you know, and that's, I mean, yeah, okay, somebody called him Fredo. So somebody, you know, used a nickname that a radio host uses for him, and he doesn't like it. That's fine. But you can't blow up at somebody like that and then threaten to hurt them. threaten physical violence. By the way, his kid was right there. So Cuomo did this in front of his small kid, which calls into question his judgment somewhat. We all lose our temper and everything else. It's just that he has routinely lost his temper when it comes to personal insults. As I said, it's a part of what we do. People insult us. And a lot of people, their entire goal in life is to get us to do things that they can, get some attention on. So he knew better. 574-2595, 95.3. That is 2595-953. Do want to thank our sponsor, Second Amendment Arms and Range. Tomorrow's Wednesday, which means kids shoot free at Second Amendment Arms and Range with a shooting parent. Go to secondamendmentarms.net for more information. Okay, the crosswalk guy. The little light, you got your stop sign, which is the red hand. And then you have the little guy that walks you across. Now, most of the time, that guy is just a stationary light, right? That's usually what it is. There are some modern crosswalks that get into the animated thing, but in general, it is just a stationary guy. So anyway, Campus Reform decided to ask some college kids if they would support changing the color of that guy because he's white. And they don't like that the guy with the crosswalk sign is white. It's seen as racially insensitive. And they actually had this little form with a bunch of suggestions for other ones, which included rainbows and different colored people, and even one that was slightly overweight to appease the overweight individuals out there. So anyway, this is how that went with the college kids signing on to change the crosswalk guy because it's offensive.
Would you be willing to sign a petition for me? The crosswalk signs, we're trying to petition to have them changed. Some students on campus have been offended by them because it's just a picture of a white man. We're proposing that we could change them to be more representative of an inclusive environment.
That's so cute! Oh my god, yeah! Wait, that's awesome!
Is this something you've thought about before?
No, I never thought about it, but I can see, I guess, why some students have a problem with it. Okay, yeah, that's cool. I'll totally sign that.
We proposed, these other things so it could be more... Yeah. We just didn't want to offend anyone,
Yeah, no, that's cool.
So is this something you guys can get on board with?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. You guys sign for me?
Yeah.
I assume it's one of many ways in which the default is imagined to be a white man. This isn't probably the most important one to me, but I totally get that it would be important to other people.
But we're trying to be, we're trying to be pioneers.
Well, that's a good idea.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome.
I haven't really thought of it as a white guy. I've just thought of it as the lightest white.
I mean, now that I've thought about it, I haven't ever thought about it, but it's just one of those things that it's definitely a lack of representation. Yeah, for sure.
Is this something you've thought about before?
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. The only problem is if you're doing such a variety, there might be just a lot of money involved.
How do you think students who are offended by this would feel?
Probably more validated. Yeah.
Of course I'll stop, and this is super cool.
It's kind of simple, just a guy walking across the street, but if it can help other people out, then why not,
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Oh, Christ. Honestly, I'm ideologically opposed.
Okay. No worries. Have a good day.
Finally got somebody at the end. Oh, Christ. I'm ideologically opposed to this. But oh, wow. I never thought about that. The one guy had it right. Okay. The one guy was like, I never thought of it being a white guy. It's just that, lights are white. So should we change the don't walk sign? The hand? Because that's Native American. Are we culturally appropriating the hand up in the air? You know what? Ladies and gentlemen, that red hand that comes up like this seems an awful lot like a racial slur against Native Americans when they say how. Remember that in the old Hollywood movies? They would raise their hand up like this and they would go how. So that's something that's got to be changed as well. We got to get rid of the red hand also. But this is how silly people are. One of those women, by the way, was a faculty member. And I know that you can't see that in the video. We'll put the video in the Daily Show Prep. But one of those women was a faculty member who was supportive of the idea of changing the crosswalk sign to have a different color or have multiple different colors in order to appease the various races and not offend anybody. And the best part is when he asked the guy, have you ever thought about this before? He's like, yeah, I totally have. I've thought about this before. No, you haven't. Now, I've heard stories of this in the past, and it usually got laughed out. It wasn't nearly as big of a social justice scenario like we have today. But they decided to go and revisit this thing, and sure enough, they got a bunch of signatures from people who thought it was awesome. And again, he put a bunch of pictures on there. So they had a woman, obviously. They had a rainbow-colored one. They had a brown one. They had a yellow one that had a belly. They had a wheelchair one. They had a pink, white, and blue one. I don't know what that stands for. So they had a whole host of representations of what these symbols could be. I don't know why you would just go with green. If the red sign means stop and green means go, just have the guy be green, for crying out loud. But anyway, he said it's nothing that anybody has actually given any serious consideration to, but he wanted to prove a point that people just sign on to anything. And for the record, vast majority of these people, pasty white folks, again, just trying to feel upset for other racial groups and demographics and things of that nature. I don't know why the rainbow thing is on there. I don't know how having a guy as the symbol of walk or don't walk is somehow detrimental to the LGBTQ community. Not exactly sure how that works, but who knows. So again, they will sign on to anything. I don't know what school that they were at on this one, though. Not exactly sure. But yeah, there you go. That's your lowest common denominator. It's right there. You can't get away from it. They're everywhere these days. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're not only live streaming on youtube.com/Casey the Host, facebook.com/Casey the Host, and twitch.tv/Casey the Host, but we are also doing a giveaway. The South Bend Symphony Orchestra is warming up for what's going to be another great season. 95.3 MNC has free tickets for you. Enter for your chance to win a pair of tickets to 5 performances this season. All you have to do is text the word music right now to 45364. Again, text the word music right now to 45364. Message and data rates do apply. Best of luck from 95.3 MNC. Again, text the word music right now to 45364 for your chance to win tickets to 5 performances from the South Bend Symphony Orchestra. We've got more coming up on Newstalk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
See, green is a bad color for blind people. There you go. So we can't use green either. Good point, Thomas.
Your breaking news and weather station. Weather served up by the Prime Table in Niles. 25 years of exceptional food, tremendous.
Doesn't that mean that we've got to change our stoplights now, though?
Breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
Comfort experts, your air conditioning professionals, 5-day forecast.
Forecast is flat for the rest of this week, but heat and humidity return for the weekend. 78 on Wednesday, less humid, partly cloudy with a sun shower or storm. Mostly sunny Wednesday with a high of 76. 80 on Friday and sunny. A chance of showers and thunderstorms on Saturday with a high of 84. Back to sunshine on Sunday with a high of 85 with higher humidity. In the ABC 57 First Warning Neighborhood Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Tom.
Yeah, there was a rainbow LED on there, Blue.
95.3 MNC keeps you on time.
Oh, okay. I get what you mean. Like it cycles through the colors as it's going. So, okay, I know what you mean.
Before your drive comes to a grinding halt, get traffic alerts direct to your cell phone. Text news to 4.
Crosswalk guy, did you just assume it's gender?
Station that keeps you moving on air, online, and on your cell. From Newstalk 95.3 Michiana's news channel, your breaking news and weather station.
Hi, I'm Chris Kramer from C. Kramer Interiors. Why do we carry the lines of furniture we carry? I believe in the quality. I believe that it's a value. When you're purchasing something that is of good quality, it can literally last you as long as you want to own it. The styling is typically a little more classic, so it's not going to be trendy and something you can live with and pass down. And strictly made in America, all solid wood. For the Mission collection, they use solid quarter sawn white oak or solid black cherry. In their modern collection, that's all solid cherry product. Their upholstery is all maple frame, lead screw, double down, 8-way hand tied. They use the finest cushion material, fabrics. I mean, it literally will last you a lifetime. Come in, look at what we have, see what we have to offer, and we would love the opportunity to show you what we can do. I'm a C. Kramer Interiors on University Drive next to Temple Grill, St. Paul.
What do you use every day
every month, year after year. Even if you've fallen so far, you can't see the light of day. You give up all hope. I think the only way that people really make it out of that deep pit is somebody sticks a ladder in and climbs down with it. Coming out of the darkness and coming back into the light.
Yeah, that's true, Roland. Those old Dean Martin roasts were savage.
Because they reintegrated you back into the workforce slowly. The idea is for people with barriers to employment, is to break down those barriers, come to work, get them used to punching in on time, send them out in the open job market, and let them fly. It gave me structure. It gave me a platform for me to change. It's amazing.
No one likes a smoke alarm ringing in the middle of the night, but neither do we want to be awoken by snoring. Snoring is just like a smoke alarm warning you of a more serious problem related to a sleep-breathing disorder, sleep apnea. Snoring is just one of the symptoms, but it can be treated. The doctors offer relief from those suffering from snoring or sleep apnea. Whether you are looking for an alternative to an uncomfortable sleep CPAP machine or find yourself tired of your room, you can rely on Mahoney Family Dentistry for help. A better experience, a healthier you.
After surgery, I got this prescription. I tell myself I'm only going to take a few of these pills, but will
Oh, Don Rickles was hysterical. God, he was good.
I'll doctor shop until I get caught, get arrested, embarrass my family, lose my job, lose my friends, and like I then know it will be on second thought, no thanks. I'll take something else.
Prescription opioid and heroin abuse in Indiana is a crisis. Visit IN.com/bearpills to get help.
Yep, I remember when they went out there to ban water. Yep. They're not the only ones who did it, too. Like, several other people have done that same trick, and they catch people every time. Every single time. And good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel. I'm your host, Casey Hendrickson. Phone number 574-2595, 95.3. That is 2595953. You can also send a text message to 45364. Please put MNC at the beginning of that message. Somebody did point out that having the guy at the crosswalk turn green might not help colorblind people. Now, they would still see him illuminated, though, right? So it shouldn't be a problem. But but here's the thing. If green is not friendly to colorblind people, then we need to change our streetlights because colorblind people drive. So I don't know. Ladies, I suppose you could just spin your wheels about this for days. Anyway, this is in the Tribune. The city of South Bend is going to hire a national expert on police community relations to review the police department's policies and practices, including those related to body cameras and use of deadly force, under an additional budget appropriation unanimously approved Monday night by the Common Council. The move comes 2 months after former officer Sergeant Ryan O'Neill fatally shot Eric Logan in a downtown parking lot as Logan allegedly was burglarizing cars and came at O'Neill with a knife. Police Chief Scott Ruskowski said that he has no problem with an outside review of his department. Quote, "We have a highly trained and professional police department, contrary to what a handful of people are saying. With that being said, I don't mind anybody coming in and looking and going, this is what we think that you're doing right, and this is what we think you're doing wrong. And we could take it and make it better. I have no problem with that," he said. Now, for the record, a lot of places, in a lot of industries, for radio, for instance, we hire consultants, bring consultants in. Even if we are the number one station in the market and our ratings are great and our revenue is great, we still bring consultants in just to try and fine tune everything. So this technically isn't something that would be unusual. Mayor Pete Buttigieg's chief of staff, Laura O'Sullivan, told council members that the administration is still negotiating the scope of the study with Chicago-based 21 CP Solutions. Is it just me, or does it seem like a hire of this type from Chicago is really misplaced? Is it just me? I don't know. Just something about this doesn't seem right, especially since it's not just the violence in Chicago, but it's the fact that police in Chicago are basically not even allowed to go to certain areas of town. And there's a part of me that wonders if
the department was advised to not do that by some consultant. Maybe this firm, maybe not. I don't know. So the council approved an additional appropriation of $180,000 from the mayor's office budget. And the assessment may ultimately cost less than that, depending on what is included in the contract, which O'Sullivan said she hopes will be finalized by the end of August or maybe even early September. Bless you. Before ultimately voting to do so, Council Health and Public Safety Committee Chair Joe Broden said that she was reluctant to give the appropriation a favorable recommendation to the full council because the scope was still undefined, so her 4th District constituents couldn't review it before her vote. And she's not entirely wrong there. She's like, wait a minute, you want me to vote on something here where we bring in a third party, we pay them a bunch of money, and I don't even know what the scope of what they're doing is? So she was a little hesitant, but again, politically, you can't oppose this, right? If you're on the Common Council in South Bend, politically, could you possibly oppose a review of the police department and not face political repercussions for it? So they're all thinking about their careers here. Council member Karen White said that she shared that concern. It would suggest as you're moving forward towards an agreement, make sure that the council is involved in terms of what that scope is going to look like, the length of the contract, and also the expectations. I'd agree with that. But after the committee meeting, O'Sullivan told the Tribune that the administration will only inform the council of the assessment scope after it has been finalized in the contract. Please give us up to $180,000 to do something, and we're not going to tell you what it's going to do. We're not going to tell you what the parameters are. We're not going to tell you what the scope of this thing is. We're not going to tell you how long the contract's for. Yeah, just give us $180,000. It may not cost $180,000, but give us $180,000 and we'll go ahead and tell you all about it later. It is the epitome of the pass it before we can see what's in it bill, which is, of course, Obamacare. We're just really in the very beginning parts of negotiating the contract, she said. We just want to get the money appropriated, given that this is such a hot topic right now. O'Sullivan showed her hand. We just want to get the money appropriated because this is a hot topic at this very moment. This is about a presidential campaign. That's what this is about. Who in their right mind would devote $180,000 to something without knowing what that something is going to do? Who would do that? And then you have the individual asking for the money going, well, this is a really hot topic right now, so we just want to make sure we get the money appropriated like right this second. We're still negotiating the contract, but we want to get it all done right now. Okay, so a contract that might have cost, $80,000 could now cost $180,000 because you've been given $180,000. This is terrible negotiation tactics. 21CP solution partner Charles Ramsey, black former Philadelphia police commissioner, co-chaired a national task force formed by President Barack Obama to make recommendations to police departments on improving their community relations. How has that gone? Obama convened the group in response to protests following high-profile police killings of several unarmed black men. Let's see. So the mayor, following the recent events, worked with lots of mayors and national leaders on this topic, O'Sullivan told the Tribune. All of them kept saying that we should look at engaging Chuck. Oh, interesting. So it's a good old boys network. Everybody said we should go to this one guy. Because this one guy was a part of the Obama administration. Gee, I wonder if this guy who worked with the Obama administration might have, some positive effect on Buttigieg's career. Do you think a guy tied with the Obama administration might have some pull politically? All of these other mayors, you've got to get with this guy. Have all of these other mayors noticed any improvement in police community relations in their community after using this guy? What's his track record like? How has that worked out? And again, if this guy was a part of Obama's task force on this stuff, and I'm looking at the state of the police with the community nationally, it's not better. It's worse. So are these guys' recommendations, is that causing the problem to be worse? Is it not having an effect at all? Is it only having a positive effect in some departments? What is the reason for this? And I'm just sitting here and look, again, the police chief and members of the council, they can't say, no, we don't want somebody looking in on it because it's suicide. It's political suicide, a career suicide for the chief. So they have to allow somebody to come in. And by the way, I don't mean to come down on this this organization like they suck, because I don't know enough about them. But that's just it. We're appropriating $180,000. Now it's out of the mayor's office, so I guess that's fine. But it's still taxpayer dollars. So we're appropriating $180,000 out of the mayor's office to a company to come in and look at the police department. But we don't even know what that inquiry is going to look like. We don't know the scope of any of that. We don't know the contract terms of it. We don't know what we were going to pay before we appropriated $180,000. How you're supposed to learn what they're going to do first and then ask the council for money. You don't ask the council for money on something and then not have any idea what that thing is going to cover or going to do. It's totally bass-backwards. But like I said, O'Sullivan, Mayor Buttigieg's lady, made it crystal clear. Well, this is a hot topic right now, so we just wanted to make sure we secured the money right now. It is the epitome of Rahm Emanuelism. Okay? Never let a good crisis go to waste. So, hey, we've got a crisis right now. Pete Buttigieg needs to get black voters to support him. Let's go ahead and bring in this organization, and we'll give them up to $180,000. Now, if I'm a company and I'm looking to bid for a government contract, and the government hasn't told me how much money they have, I'm going to try and get the contract, right? By giving them the lowest possible dollar amount that I think that I can get, okay? Because I should say the highest that I think I can get that would be the lowest dollar amount for them. Now, like I said, if these people were looking at maybe charging $80,000 to do this inquiry, but now that they know $180,000 is available, they've just jacked up their bill. And it's, I don't know, this whole thing is just totally backwards. It's clearly political. It's not unusual to bring in, it's not unusual to bring in a third party, even if you have a successful enterprise to tweak things. So I don't have an issue necessarily with that. My issue is that this is all done backwards. And even members of the council are sitting there saying, I would love to have some more information so my constituents can comment on this, at future council meetings, and then we can decide if it's worth the money or not. But they won't do it because they can't. It's political suicide, so they just go along with it. And who knows? This might end up being a positive thing, ladies and gentlemen. It might end up being a negative thing. I sure would like to see this company's track record of improvement before hiring them. And I certainly would have liked to see what they were going to do before giving money, or I should say appropriating money, because the contract hasn't been signed yet. Appropriating money for the cause. You know what I mean? It's all backwards. This is not how you do negotiations. And when you have somebody in the mayor's office admitting that it's simply because it's a political hot button issue and we wanted to secure the money now, it tells you all you need to know. You got more coming up. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
This is Michiana's breaking news and weather station.
It does kind of sound like leaf removal, doesn't it?
I'm Tommy Lee in the MNC News Center, and among this afternoon's top stories, 2 people were sent to the hospital following
Yeah, exactly, Alex. It's only 3 boomers. Actually, the boomers were, weren't they like 600K? I thought boomer was 600K. But I get what you're saying.
Several other people inside the home, but an exact number wasn't immediately known. Fire officials are still investigating and have not released a cause.
That's 95.3 MNC's Carl Stutzman. Specific conditions of the people taken to the hospital are still not known. Allegiant is adding a new nonstop flight to South Bend International Airport. Starting November 25th, you'll be able to get tickets via Allegiant to Sarasota. Airport CEO and Executive Director Mike Daigle says they're happy to add the new route, and they hope it will mean more local residents can enjoy some fun in the sun during the cold winter months. And you can expect traffic delays late tomorrow morning in South Bend as the city says goodbye to a fallen firefighter. The funeral procession for Captain Dave Kohler will begin around 11:30 a.m. tomorrow and impact traffic flow around parts of the city. We'll have more information and a list of the affected streets at 953mnc.com.
Fox News, I'm Rich Dennison. President Trump discussing the China trade war while addressing
it's 600K.
in Pittsburgh, touting his tariffs on Chinese steel. And I put a little thing
60K is the price it should have been. You're 100% right.
On all of the dumped steel all over the country. And now your business is thriving.
The White House today announcing it would delay adding tariffs on a number of Chinese goods to soften the impact on American consumers during the holiday shopping season.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this is the same guy that came with the friggin' beer lunch deal that they did.
The NASDAQ 153 points higher. The Justice Department today reassigning the warden of the federal facility where Jeffrey Epstein died. 2 guards have been placed on administrative leave pending an investigation into Epstein's apparent suicide. This is Fox News.
Ooh.
Weather sponsored by
The Prime Table Kids. If you need an awesome breakfast, head over to the Prime Table. Breakfast served all day.
Now, Home Comfort Experts, your air conditioning professionals' first warning forecasts.
Partly cloudy this evening and clear.
God, I can't believe kids go back to the kid goes back to school this week.
60s. Wednesday, a nice day, partly cloudy, high of 78.
Okay, it's cray.
An isolated shower or thunderstorm possible by the late afternoon. In the ABC 57 first morning neighborhood weather center.
Harper's doing what Bree was doing when she was her age. She's begging to go to school.
Your single source for personal protection.
So we may end up putting Harper into school early too.
Quality handguns, shotguns, rifles, accessories, and more.
What if this was a loved one?
911. Someone's trying to break into my home. They're right at the front door.
We're notifying the authorities. I'll stay on the line with you until they arrive.
What could that do?
Yeah, Connie on Facebook. Yeah, we have Boomer. But they saved money on Boomer. It was going to be $650K, and it was closer to 600. They won't tell us how much. It was closer to 600.
Visit them online at cxgun.com. Protect yourself and loved ones today at CXGun. Let's welcome everybody to global superstar live in concert, performing all of his hits for one night only. At Forward's Field on Friday, August 16th, presented by Bud Light, Metro by T-Mobile, and ABC 57 News. Get tickets now at the South Bend Cubs box office or online at pitbullsouthbend.com.
The Fox Business Report, powered by Home Comfort Experts, plumbing, heating, and cooling. Keep your hard-working AC running smooth with a tune-up today. Call 255-4600.
From the Fox Business Network, all Wall Street major averages closing sharply higher as investors went shopping for stocks after the U.S. said it would withdraw from tariffs of Chinese imports, including mobile phones, toys, and several other items typically.
Right. No, it's closer to 6 than it was. Hey, look, my ex-girlfriend is on Facebook pitching a fit about my Fredo shirts. You've got to move on, okay? We're not together anymore, and it's not healthy to linger and obsess.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. 30% of Americans who are planning for improvements of $5,000 or more will pay for those.
I don't know, Burroughs. I don't know why there's only one. Maybe because only one person doesn't like me. And they're just upset that I broke their heart.
4.125%. APR 4.22%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com. Rate subject to change. If we need 8% fee received is discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. Minimum for 3030.
Hi, this is Dr. Roger Pacino. Did you know that not only has Afton been voted the top dentist in Michiana a record 18 times, but also voted the best place to work in the entire area? If our employees feel that way, just imagine what that means for your experience.
Yeah, you see, Smash Mouth had to go and run their mouths the other day, so they can totally keep my Smash Mouth CD. I don't need it anymore. Smash Mouth went all social justice warrior the other day, so it's cool. I don't need it back. I even told them, you can keep my old T-shirts and my sweatshirts. I don't need them back. Just move on with your life.
Visit us on the web at afnet.com or simply call 277-2220.
So Warren, did you see the carbon fiber FTR that they have at Elkhart Indian? Oh my God, thing is sexy, man.
So, it's all taken care of. You better look nice. And the ring is the body. Honestly, it's your mother I'm worried about. When you announced the engagement, all I saw was a flash of dresses and clothes all over the house for the next month. Mom is very excited for you. She just wants everything to be perfect. She's getting ready now, and I'm sure she's a hot mess.
Dad, don't worry. I see her duties. From mother of the intent.
I told my ex that they may not be the brightest, or they may not be the dumbest person in the world, but they better hope that Fredo doesn't die.
Provide personal color and style analysis. And few one-of-a-kind dresses like Bolshevik Komarov that can't be found.
Yeah, dude, that thing is so friggin' nice. I was hoping the FTR wouldn't be that damn tall, though. It needs to be just a little bit lower for me to enjoy it. Two common council lurkers, huh? I mentioned Elkhart Indian, and my friggin' Google survey went off on my phone. Mentioned it. Have you visited this place lately?
And good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel. I'm your host, Casey Hendrickson. Phone number, 574-2595, 95.3. That is 2595953. You can also send a text message to 45364. Please put MNC at the beginning of that message. Again, tomorrow is Kids Shoot Free Day over at Second Amendment Arms and Range. Again, you have to have a shooting parent with you. So go to secondamendmentarms.net, get all of your information, and make sure you get them out there, teach them responsible firearm handling and that sort of thing. Casey, is this company/guy going to donate to Pete's campaign? Look, the fact that so many people, other Democratic mayors, are telling Mayor Pete that you've got to hire this guy from Chicago who did this thing with Obama, which apparently hasn't worked on a national scale. You've got to hire this guy. I mean, it seems suspicious to me. I don't know what the deal is with all of this stuff, but I don't know. It seems a little suspicious. Anyway, I want to talk about Chernobyl, not the miniseries, but the Chernobyl that is happening now in Russia. All right, so here's the deal. First of all, this is overhyped. I just want you to know that, okay? Right off the get-go, this whole thing is overhyped. There is no nuclear fallout happening in Russia right now, but there was a huge concern because they were testing a nuclear missile and there was an explosion and an accident, and there is radiation, okay? So you're seeing people in protective suits and all of that. People are recording that and like, oh my gosh, it's Chernobyl all over again. That's because the miniseries Chernobyl is so popular on HBO, and you should watch it because it is really good. Russian authorities have told people in a village near the site of a deadly missile explosion involving a nuclear power test to leave the territory after the accident triggered a massive spike in radiation. The country's state weather service said radiation levels spiked in the Russian city of Severodonetsk. I used to be able to say this. Severodvinsk up to 16 times last Thursday after what officials say was an explosion during a rocket engine test on a sea platform. We have received a notification about the planned activities of the military authorities. In this regard, residents of the area were asked to leave the territory of the village from 14th of August. Okay. By the way, that was quoted by the local news agency. Sorry. The evacuation follows the incident that is still shrouded in secrecy, but which the nuclear agency Rosatom said occurred while engineers were testing a nuclear isotope power source for a rocket engine. All right. Now, I don't know if technically this would have violated the missile deal that we had with Russia or not. So obviously the U.S. pulls out of the Russia deal because we thought that the Russians were violating the deal for many, many, many years. Russia claims that they haven't been violating it, but the proof that they provided, it wasn't the right missile. So there's, eventually the U.S. said, all right, that's it, we're out then. So Russia says, of course, the U.S. just wants to be out because they want to test their own systems, which might be true. It's entirely possible. And then Russia goes and tests new systems too. So, and again, both sides were developing this technology in secret. Both sides have certainly been working on this technology in secret, but there's a deal there. So, a lot of the testing hasn't happened because we didn't want the international community to find out. The tragedy has fueled radiation fears and raised questions about a secretive weapons program. The explosion, which occurred on the coast around 600 miles north of Moscow, killed at least 5 Russian nuclear engineers who were laid to rest at funerals. The medics involved in the disaster have signed an agreement promising not to divulge information about the incident. The Defense Ministry initially reported the explosion at the Navy's testing range near the village, and killed 2 people, injured 6, but again, more died later. We saw that the radiation spike happened, and then what ended up happening is local media was able to pick up on Russian government types in their fallout suits and their protective gear. So naturally, that became a huge concern. Like, oh, great, we have another nuclear issue in Russia. They did again ask the towns nearby to evacuate based on the radiation spike, but the radiation spike, you need to understand, it's not nearly what we're talking about with a Chernobyl. So the headlines that we're all seeing, Chernobyl-like sort of a thing, it's purely imagery. It has nothing to do with the actual radiation levels that we are aware of. Okay. Because who knows? It's always possible that it is being, manipulated and things of that nature. It's entirely possible. Rosatom director, by the way, Rosatom is involved in the whole Clinton uranium one fiasco. Okay, so that if you're hearing Rosatom and you're wondering, I know that. What is Rosatom? That is that Russian nuclear agency that was involved in uranium one, which of course was a Hillary Clinton scandal to sell uranium to the Russians, which made no sense because we have to import uranium, so why wouldn't we just keep it? Anyway, our further work on new weapons that we will certainly complete will be the best tribute to them. According to the Rosatom officials, we will fulfill the motherland's orders in fully protected security. All right. So again, they're using a radioactive isotope as some form of power for their rockets, according to what they publicly acknowledged anyway. And that blew up, which caused a spike in radiation. In one of the areas, the spike in radiation was temporary. And at least according, again, to the officials, which you have to take with a grain of salt because we are talking about the Russians here. It's not the Soviet Union anymore, but it's still the Russians. And, you had that spike. They said that it was basically a spike that went away by evening time, which may or may not be true. So, but they are now telling some of the nearby towns just evacuate in order to go ahead and take a precaution there. But the radiation levels that we have heard about, not nearly as severe as you would see at a Chernobyl event, which is also an event that is extremely rare and something that, in the way that it happened, wouldn't happen with a Western facility. Western facilities have other risks. But again, people are fear-mongering on this. They're easily hopping on the bandwagon with the Chernobyl miniseries, which has been hugely popular, but that does not appear to be the case. Okay, so it's being overhyped, but it's still not a pleasant scenario, obviously. We've got more coming up. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
Casey Hendrickson.
News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
Your breaking news and weather stations.
Weather served up by the Prime Table Restaurant in Niles. Does your family or group meet regularly for breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Just call the Prime Table to reserve tables for your next gathering.
Yeah, the large floating nuclear reactor. Yeah, that one's an interesting one.
Professionals 5-day forecast.
Forecast is milder the rest of this week, but heat and humidity return for the weekend. 78 on Wednesday, less humid, partly cloudy with an isolated shower or storm. Mostly sunny Wednesday with a high of 76. 80 on Friday and sunny. A chance of showers and thunderstorms on Saturday with a high of 84. Back to sunshine on Sunday with a high of 85 with higher humidity. In the ABC 57 First Warning Neighborhood Weather Center, our chief meteorologist, Tom Poon.
The station to turn to when the weather turns bad.
When severe weather strikes in Michiana, focus on protecting yourself and your family. This is ABC 57 meteorologist Tom.
There's no doubt too that the Russians are going to be like extra cautious here. It's not a closed society anymore like it used to be. So everybody knows about Chernobyl. The Russians were really embarrassed about Chernobyl, and now they're well aware of the mini-series. They're going to do everything they can to dot their I's, cross their T's, to not make it another international incident. Oh yeah, that's right, the liquid sodium reactor. That thing's... Tell me about that. Holy smokes.
I am not a realtor or associated with any realty company.
I'm a private real estate investor who buys several houses a month, and I want to buy even more. Call me at 574-294-5678. I buy inherited houses, divorced houses, behind in payment houses. I even buy my tenant will pay me the rent houses. Do you own a house that is trash and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, because I love buying damaged houses too. I buy vacant houses, abandoned houses, condemned houses, and foreclosure houses. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at 574-294-5678.
All right, talk about some Chucky Schumer.
That's 574-294.
Chucky Schumer sounds like an ice cream flavor.
Oh, it's another new car commercial.
Chunky
Showing
Schumer.
smart flash across the screen as the tinted windows offset the look and style of the vehicle. Have you ever wondered why new car commercials always show vehicles with tinted windows? It's because it looks great.
That would be interesting, Pradith.
They look great on the road too. To get your ride looking like that with enhanced appearance and increased privacy, you need the one and only.
As much as I like Stranger Things, I'm starting to see huge holes in their storyline that I'm not sure will survive a third season.
Available in many shades to ensure that you.
There's a lot of shows out there that should have been one season. And even if they do season 2 and make it passable, they shouldn't do a season 3. And I'm fearful Stranger Things is on that track.
Stranger Things is on season 3. They just wrapped up season 3.
I thought that was season 2. Okay, season 4 then. Same premise. I'm starting to see plot holes.
2627 South Main Street in South Bend today.
Summer sun is beating down on automobiles, and there's still a lot of warm weather left. Change your old central air conditioner and furnace for just $18 a week. Plus, get a free water heater and clean comfort air cleaner. Now until August 31st, 2019.
Yep, I posted about the vodka on Facebook, JC. I'm down. It's called Atomic. And they say that they actually had many universities test the final product to make sure that it was not irradiated and
Oh, I'm
dangerous.
sure several universities tested it alright.
I'm down. I'm totally down to do it. I wish that we could get some Atomic vodka and do a taste test with it, but we can't because Joe's too young.
And we're not supposed to drink on air.
It would have to be a podcast.
Just call 255-4600 and get your new central air conditioner or furnace for no money down and $18 a week. Plus, get a free water heater and air cleaner with system purchase.
Cable and Ace Hardware will be hosting their annual Grill Fest on August 24th. Stop by, see the Big Green Egg and Traeger grills in action. Try unique recipes and talk to the grilling experts. Take advantage of the Demo Grill program by pre-purchasing a demo grill that has been used just once the day of the event and save 20% off retail price. Don't miss out on the accessory discounts too. Stop by Cable and Ace on August 24th for Grill Fest. Visit cableandacehardware.com for more information.
Your top news, traffic, and weather during Michigan News first thing weekdays from 95.3 MNC, your breaking news and weather station.
All right, here we go. And good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel. I want to thank R&B Car Company, locations in South Bend and Warsaw. R&B Car Company are your used car experts. 574-2595, 95.3. That is 2595953. You can also send a text message to 45364. Please put MNC at the beginning of that message. Okay, Chuck Schumer. He says that you should not be allowed to own body armor. Now, we have been down this road before. The Senate's top Democrat says that he is introducing legislation to require the FBI to regulate the sale of body armor in the U.S. Senator Charles Schumer said Sunday that the legislation would require the Bureau to set standards on who would be eligible to purchase bullet-resistant vests and other body armor. At least the Washington Times got bullet-resistant, right, because it's not bulletproof. New York senator says there would be exceptions for law enforcement and other public safety officials. He says that he'll introduce the bill after the Senate returns to Washington in September. The legislation is aimed at trying to curb the sale of body armor, which has been used by assailants in mass shootings. The push comes a week after a gunman wearing body armor killed 9 in Dayton, Ohio.
FBI did not respond for comment. So let me just kind of summarize what Chuck Schumer says. Chuck Schumer holds these press conferences where he has that little tear in his eye running down his cheek, and he snivels up a little bit, and he goes, "You can't leave your house without becoming a potential victim of gun violence. Gun violence is an epidemic. Everybody is getting shot. It is so likely that you're going to get shot right now that this is the worst crisis the country is ever facing." Also, Chuck Schumer, you're not allowed to buy the thing that is the best protection from getting shot. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense there, Chucky. So, gun violence is an epidemic. It's not. It's an epidemic, according to Chuck Schumer, and everybody who leaves their home is at risk of being shot, yet he doesn't want you to buy the thing that would give you the best protection should that likely scenario, according to him, actually play out. Remarkable logic there, right? So wouldn't you want people to be able to protect themselves? Oh, but I get it. You don't want them to protect themselves with firearms, and you certainly don't want them to be able to, stop a bullet, unless, of course, they're government. Government, of course, can have body armor. Government can go ahead and have all the body armor that they want to stop bullets. But the average citizenry, nope, you can't have that. Here's the thing. I've sold bulletproof backpacks in the past. I know that bulletproof backpacks are making a comeback now. I am not opposed to people having them. My philosophy on this is it's not about shooters necessarily. That bulletproof backpack will help in a whole host of scenarios, but you lock your doors for a reason. You have an alarm system for a reason. Many of us have cameras on our homes for a reason. We have dash cameras in our vehicles for a reason. When I ride a motorcycle, I have a camera on my helmet for a reason. Even though the scenario of anything bad happening to me is extremely low, okay, the reality is that statistically, I'm more likely to not have an incident occur in my life, right? But we know that it's a possibility, and so we prepare. It's the same reason that people own firearms to begin with. There's a lot of people out there who have military helmets and things like that, especially in areas where, tornadoes and things like that can, throw things at your face and your body. I know many families who use body armor and flak vests and things like that in their disaster plan, just in case their home were to collapse on top of them, they would have more protection than they would otherwise. Or if things are being thrown around in a swirling fashion, like in a tornado, or if they're going to fall on you like in an earthquake, you're better protected than just having yourself, okay? So there's a lot of reasons to have body armor. Yeah, okay, bad guys are going to use body armor. So, arm police with the proper tools to defeat the body armor. This is not that difficult, all right? Most body armor is not going to be effective against, good rifle rounds, all right? Now, again, that's most. There's obviously exceptions to the rule, and you can certainly continue to add layers of protection if you really wanted to. That would be effective. But generally speaking, that's not going to happen. And as body armor, by the way, new technology, a buddy of mine showed me some new body armor that he has. New company is going to be coming out with it. I don't know, it feels like it's a third of the weight. And it offers more protection. Yeah, Joe just looked at me like, what? Yeah, he handed it to me. He's like, you've got to feel this. So I picked it up and I was like, put me down for 4. Because it is so much lighter than current flak vests and body armor. It's just absolutely, and this is actual plating that will stop rounds, and it's not a flak vest. It's lighter than my flak vest by a lot that I had in the military. So just phenomenal technologies coming out on this. So you're just going to have to live with it. Now imagine a world where you can't have any guns and you can't have any of the stuff that would protect you from those guns, unless of course you work for the government. Gee, where have we seen this play out before? So they can't have it both ways. They can't go out there and tell you that you can't leave your home without becoming a victim of gun crime, and then tell you can't buy the thing that would be best able to protect you in that scenario. Now, why don't they want you to buy body armor? Because they want the body count to go up. If the body count goes up, I'm obviously going total tinfoil here, But if they get the body count to continue to go up, then they continue to make the play for your guns like they're doing now. They know that. It's one of the reasons they keep fabricating and lying about this issue over and over and over again. So yeah, you've had some bad guys in the past use body armor. Okay, you notice that the body armor wasn't really effective in the latest situation. You know where the body armor was effective was in West Hollywood. And the police learned a valuable lesson about that. And that was reduplicated across the country with departments all over the country that, okay, if somebody seriously loads themselves up with body armor, we don't want another situation like we had in West Hollywood. And that West Hollywood shootout was horrific and awful. I don't know how many people know about it. If you're younger, you may not be aware of it, but you've got to go back and take a look at that story. And frankly, it's time they did a blockbuster movie about it. I know that they've done some movies about it, and they've done some made-for-TV type things, and they've done some pretty good documentaries about it. I would love to see an actual Hollywood production about it, honestly. It's that big of an event in American history that I think that we could get away with doing it. But police departments learn from that. And in the latest situation where the gunman had body armor on, it didn't really help him. So if you're a civilian and you have body armor, if you're a kid and you have a bulletproof backpack, or you're a corporate individual and you buy one of those bulletproof briefcases like I talked about, yeah, this could be something that could save your life in an environment where you might be at risk. And Chuck Schumer's, I don't want you to have it. Name another safety product that isn't used for offensive purposes that the government is trying to take away. We've got more coming up. 95.3 MNC.
WTRC FM and HD1. Niles, South Bend, Elkhart.
Boink.
Okay. That was not clear. Well, that was so not. That's so stupid. So stupid how that's supposed to work.
What did you do?
Nothing.
What did you mess up?
I didn't mess up anything. I got it to
Screw up,
work.
man.
I fixed it. I'm trying to do a thing, and the instructions were very unclear. You're like, okay, save. Awesome. I saved the thing.
That's
not how you save it correctly. In order for the thing to work, you have to save it a different way. Not the clear button that says save. You have to go to a different button.
I forgot to go to Best Buy on my way to work today, damn it. I got a new camera for my motorcycle.
Your $80 camera?
I think it's 50 on sale. Like normally 80, but it was 50, yeah. So I got it, but it did. The only thing it didn't come with, it came with a whole friggin' box of accessories, and it did not come with a friggin' SD card.
Really?
The one thing it didn't come with was an SD card.
I guess that kind of makes sense, though. You're buying a cheaper camera.
But they loaded me up on accessories.
No,
so
no,
like
that's
with the
common.
GoPro. With the GoPro, I didn't get any accessories.
Did it come with an adapter for like a mini SD card?
No.
I got a cheaper camera and it came with a bunch of accessories, but it didn't come with an SD card. It came with an adapter for a micro SD card.
Oh god. No, yeah, it's just like a little TF card, and it just didn't come with that at all. It came with everything else. So.
Okay. So now
I knew because I had several things to do before I got to work today. I did a bunch of them and I forgot one. Guess I'll try and do it before I get to my appointments. I'm gonna have to bounce out of here like super quick. Did you learn to be a producer from the Russian nuke plant operators?
No, John just sat me down and in about 20 minutes has taught me how to do everything.
That's funny. Tim did sit in and give you some pointers one day.
Yeah, he did give me a couple pointers.
Just to try and clean it up a little bit.
But
Tim hates the way John runs the board. Hates it.
I was already familiar with the board because I was I was producing for Froggy for the Elkhart County Game of the Week. So I was already familiar with the board. So it wasn't a lot of new stuff.
And once you're already running it for that, it's
It's
not
pretty
much-
well the
not
same
much
thing.
different.
It's just a lot more personal with the person you're running it for.
I ran football twice. I've asked repeatedly to be taught to use the board, and John's like, no.
Why?
He spun it to be about me.
Oh.
He goes, because if I teach you to run the board, then it'll be easier for us to tell you to just run your board instead of finding you somebody. I don't remember what the other reason was. There was
I guess
another reason. This is
it
a
kind
few
of
years
makes
ago.
sense because then you would have to field your own calls while also talking.
It would be
about it.
pure, and I told him
It would be
purely
chaos.
for an emergency situation. And
It would be pure chaos because you would be like talking and there'd be people on the line and you'd be
it would
missing
never.
calls.
No, it would never work.
That'd be the
Not
one
for my
thing.
format. It
Yeah.
can work for Mark's format. It can't work.
Yeah, if it's like not a show where you call in, yeah. Well, I mean, you could if it's not like a talk show, yeah. If you're doing like a contest, and you're like, all right, first 5 callers, and you just take the first.
Sure.
Or something like that.
Oh, another suspect has been arrested in San Antonio for firing shots at the ice facility there.
That's fun.
I don't know. Do you think that concentration camp rhetoric is making people shoot at the building?
You never know. His name was that. That was his name. Oh, crap.
So, Pete Buttigieg has had an encounter with a woman in Iowa that I'm going to tell you about.
The only app that gives you roadside assistance, Ford Pass rewards, and now when you buy or lease a new Ford, earn points you can use toward flexible complimentary maintenance that gives you, well, more freedom.
Ooh!
Ford Pass, built to keep you, built for
Sweet.
Visit your
Not what I was expecting, but I'll take
to
it.
find out about getting flexible complimentary maintenance when you buy or lease a new Ford and sign up for rewards. Roadside assistance
Michiana's News Channel, would you like to talk to Casey?
Where at? Hey, Tracy. Welcome back.
Ooh, so Cassopolis State Road 19, northbound. Alrighty. Alrighty. Well, I'll go ahead and get that out there as soon as I can, man. Alright. Thank you very much, man. Cassopolis.
Wait, what the hell is that one? Oh, that's old. I never even knew you typed anything in there.
Yeah. That's probably cleaned up by now, though.
I would assume so.
Yeah. Cassopolis, State Road 19 north. Wow. Oh.
I didn't even see that.
Oh, good. I figured it would probably get cleaned up pretty fast anyway. Northbound Elkhart. Accident.
Boink. Here we go.
95.3 Michiana's News Channel, your breaking news and weather station.
And good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's News Channel. I'm your host, Casey Hendrickson. Phone number 574-25-95-95.3. That is 2595-953. You can also send a text message to 45364. Please put MNC at the beginning of that message. Cassopolis, State Road 19 northbound in Elkhart. There's an accident. An accident there. You want to avoid that. Thank you for calling that in. And of course, if you have any additional information on that, please let us know. 574-2595-95.3. All right. Pete Buttigieg He's mayor of South Bend, in case you didn't know. He had an interesting encounter with a woman in Iowa, because they're all going to Iowa, right? So he's in Iowa, and he's shaking the hands of this woman. And this woman says, I shook Robert Kennedy's hand in 1968. Cool. So then Pete Buttigieg looks at this lady and goes, so you're good luck. She says, not really. He was shot a month later.
Ooh. Ooh.
Awkward. Yeah, not a good moment, but you got to enjoy it though. Also, the concentration camp rhetoric from the media and prominent leftists has led to another individual who shot at an ICE facility in San Antonio. Actually, bullet holes through glass and everything. A suspect is under arrest after allegedly firing shots at an ICE office in San Antonio last night. Luckily, nobody was injured. And again, it'd be interesting to see if anybody goes and contacts the Democrats and says, hey, will you condemn shooting at an ICE facility? You know, you keep calling them Nazis, SS officers, and fascists, and you've called them kidnappers. What else have they called? I think they've actually called them murderers. And, you know, basically saying that they're running concentration camps and all that stuff. So will you condemn the rhetoric, which was certainly motivated by your vitriol and your false narrative of these individuals? So again, you go out there, you tell everybody these are Nazis, they're kidnappers, they're murderers, they're running concentration camps. And then you can't be surprised when the lowest common denominator, the Fredo viewers out there, go fire shots at the ICE facility. By the way, get your 1024th Fredo gear now. Go to facebook.com/Casey the host. Got a link to the new merchandise right there on my Facebook page. The family of a couple who died in El Paso at the shooting there is now we told you that there was this family who basically called the local Democrats evil for not welcoming the president to El Paso. And she lost her brother and her sister-in-law as they were shielding their baby from the gunfire. Okay. He was shielding her. She was shielding the baby. They both died. Baby survived. Okay. They did their jobs as parents. They died heroes. Now, that family who said, how dare these elected officials say that the president isn't welcome to visit? Because he certainly is. And politicizing the deaths of their relatives. You know, they made that point. They're right. They're 100% right. We shouldn't politicize this, but that's exactly what they do every single time there's a shooting. The family of a couple who died in the El Paso, Texas shootings protecting their baby is receiving death threats because they're associated with President Donald Trump and his trip to El Paso to console victims. So I want you to just take a moment here and understand what we're talking about, right? We've got people who lost a brother and a sister-in-law, or a daughter, a son, and the opposite of that. Okay, because this is a married couple who died protecting their baby from a gunman. They simply told everybody to stop politicizing the deaths of their loved ones, and the president is absolutely welcome to come and console victims and talk with victims. And now those survivors are getting death threats. Do you think the individuals sending the death threats actually give a damn about any of the victims in El Paso? Of course they don't. It's all about politics. Everything is, it's not even politics. Like, it's a distorted, warped view of the world is what it is. It's derangement. They are feral, deranged, and defective people. The brother of the killed couple and uncle of the injured 2-month-old, Tito Anchondo, spoke out against the criticism and hate-mongering in the wake of the shootings. We should be coming together as a country at this time instead of threatening each other with hate messages. That's what he told the Houston Chronicle. Anchondo, who posed in a photo with Trump and Melania at the hospital with the child that was injured in the shooting, said that the president was there to console the victims of the shooting and not there to push a political agenda. He was just there as a human being, consoling us and giving us condolences. The president wasn't there to be pushing any kind of political agenda. The First Lady's office released the photo on Thursday, and it had received backlash online from critics who said it politicized the shootings. Oh, So the president visiting politicized the shootings, but politicizing the shootings before we even knew who the shooter was, that's not politicizing the shootings. Running for legislation wasn't politicizing the shootings. Doing everything we can to blame the president for the shootings wasn't politicizing the shootings. But the president visiting politicized the shootings. And of course, if the president didn't visit, then of course he would be ignoring the victims, right? Because he doesn't care. Critics said the president's smile and thumbs up gesture in the photo was inappropriate for the occasion, but Anchondo disagreed, telling NPR that his slain brother was a Trump supporter and his family is Republican. It doesn't matter anyway. There's nothing wrong with the photo. But now they're getting death threats. So it really, it's all you need to know about the people that you're dealing with. And those are the people that keep telling you, oh, just pass the gun restrictions that we want, and then everything will be fine. Does that sound like a reasonable group of people to you? And those are the ones pushing for new legislation. And of course, this new legislation would not have prevented any of this from happening. None of it. So I don't know what else to say. Honestly, I don't know what else to say. These are people who are wishing for people to die, who were already victims of a shooting, who lost family members in that shooting. And they're trying to tell you that they have the moral high ground and that you, me, others are the problem. These death fantasies that the ultra-left has, I know it happens in the ultra-right too, but it's a much smaller scale. And it certainly isn't made, it doesn't make the rounds in mass media like this does, right? So you've got blue checkmark people pushing conspiracy theories, demonizing people, lying about the president. The Charlottesville thing is still out there. They're still out there pushing Charlottesville. Elizabeth Warren is pushing Charlottesville as if the President Trump called neo-Nazis good people, which he never said. Now, if you're somebody who's too stupid to understand fiction from reality, and you hear that, and you're already on edge because you're not mentally stable, you're a defective human being, yeah, all of a sudden, maybe you do pass that background check, you get a gun, you go shoot up an ICE facility or something of that nature. Maybe you do threaten innocent people who just lost 2 relatives and nearly lost the baby in this shooting because, again, you're a defective human being and you think for some reason in your warped worldview that you're the arbiter of right. That's what happens. This is not acceptable. And when people run around making these sorts of things well known and they give fodder for others to do it, if you don't police your own communities, and I'm talking to the left and the right here, if you don't police your own communities when people get out of control like this, you just let it get worse. And it like I said, I'm at a point where I don't care if the left eats its own or if the left gets accused frivolously of things that they frivolously accuse other people. But there's that line where you're talking about actually killing people and threatening them when they haven't done anything wrong. That's a huge difference. And then, of course, you've got people like Cuomo, like Fredo Cuomo out there, believing that they've been the victim of some ethnic slur that isn't an ethnic slur in order to amp themselves up to assault somebody. It's stupid. It's absolutely dumb. But the political climate that we're in right now fosters this. And I know it's always fostered it because there's always been defective people. But mass media and social media in particular are making these things so much more prevalent that, I don't know, epidemic is not the right word to use, but it has become almost normalized to have this type of vitriol now. All right, couple of updates before we go, and then we'll take phone calls on this coming up in just a couple of minutes. Cassopolis, State Road 19, northbound. There in Elkhart, there's an accident. Avoid that. Westbound bypass is also backed up. Do you know where that is on the bypass? Or
Somewhere around Ireland. I think it's just past
around Ireland.
The backup starts right around Ireland.
All right, good deal. That's probably the standing issues that we've been having. So anyway, if you have any more information, please let us know. 574-2595, 95.3. We'll have your phone calls coming up. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's News Channel.
Casey Hendricks.
You have an Indian read coming out of the break.
Weather served up by the
So, you know.
25 years of exceptional food, tremendous service, great people. Visit Prime Table today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
You know, here's the thing. I'm never one of those people to ascribe to, oh, they're on steroids or something like that. But Cuomo has a fuse that few people I've ever known have. And he is so quick to anger over nothing that it makes you wonder if he's on something that's messing with his brain. I don't know. I have no evidence. It could just be his personality. It may have nothing to do with what he takes or doesn't take, but I know that it has been made. People have made that allegation before. And a lot of the roid rage accusation stuff is not exactly accurate. People have embellished that quite a bit over the years, but
I turned to Goshen Center for Cancer Care.
he's not normal.
Right from the start, I knew I'd made the right choice.
The Fredo fishing I've seen that so many times today. The Fredo fishing comment.
And monitor my treatment, which gives me more options than I.
Tracy with the sick bass turds. Don't know what that means, but okay. You know what that means? No, I'm lost. And sometimes I'm lost because I say something during a segment and somebody responds to it right away, and I don't remember what I said.
And help me find resources like copay assistance for my medications.
From the moment I walk through the door, I have personalized care and the attention of an entire team.
Because they're not just focused on treating cancer.
Well, here's hoping Pete Buttigieg doesn't get shot in a month.
And at Goshen, we're all in this.
Hopefully that lady is not a
To learn
jinx.
more, visit GoshenCancerCare.org.
Hi, this is Dwayne Miller with Good Faith Management, and I buy houses cash. If you own a house and want to sell it fast and for a fair price, call me at 574-294-5678. I can pay cash and close in as little as 7 days. I buy houses in any condition, any price range, and in any location. I am not a realtor or associated with any realty company. I'm a private real estate investor who buys several houses a month, and I want to buy even more. Call me at 574-294-5678. I buy inherited houses, divorce houses, behind in payment houses. I even buy my tenant will pay me the rent houses. Do you own a house that is trash and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, because I love buying damaged houses too. I buy vacant houses, abandoned houses, condemned houses, and foreclosure houses. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at 574-294-5678 for a cash offer today. That's 574-294-5678.
Spy Promotions and the Edwardsburg Sports Complex proudly present Michiana Harvest Blues Festival. Join them Saturday, September 7th at the Edwardsburg Sports Complex on U.S. Highway 12 in Edwardsburg, Michigan. Gates open at noon, music from 2 to 10 p.m. Get your tickets at the door for only $10. Proceeds benefit the Edwardsburg Sports Complex. Don't miss the Michiana Harvest Blues Festival, Saturday, September 2nd. For more info, go to the Edwardsburg Sports Complex Facebook page. A complete recap of the day's news, sports, and traffic and weather every 10 minutes on the 6s. We're back in the morning after 5. It's Michiana's Morning News on 95 frequency.
Okay.
And good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel. I'm your host, Casey Hendrickson. Phone number 574-2595, 95.3. That is 2595-953. Of course, I got to tell you about my friends over at Elkhart Indian Motorcycle, where I got my motorcycle. And several friends of mine have gotten their motorcycles, and several of you have gotten your motorcycles. And a lot of us take our motorcycles for service. In fact, I've got my service set up for next week. Out there at Elkhart Indian Motorcycle. I know a lot of people, by the way, who don't own Indians, who take their bikes to Elkhart Indian Motorcycle for service because their service department is well regarded in the area for being great with all motorcycles. I know that a lot of people get their custom work done there. I've had my custom paint done at the vendors at Elkhart Indian Motorcycle. So they do a lot of stuff beyond just selling you a bike. Now, a lot of people who went with me to Wild West Wednesday last week, they were able to see the dealership for the very first time. And one of the things that I consistently hear from people who go there is, wow, this is different. And in a good way. You know, you go into a lot of places and they just kind of jam as many bikes as they can in there. You're lucky if somebody talks to you. If they do talk to you, depending on the person, maybe they're short with you if they don't think that you're a serious buyer or something like that. I know people that have been working with sales staff at Elkhart Indian Motorcycles, sometimes for a year, just trying to get up, the right positioning to buy a bike. And that relationship has always been strong, so they're patient. They understand it's a big purchase. It's a huge lifestyle change when you get a motorcycle. There's no doubt about that. One of the things that I could easily tell you is that, and I've heard this from other motorcycle riders too, even before I started riding, is you are not going to comprehend until it happens how much your life is going to change. Your routines are going to change. Your interest in motorcycles is going to grow far beyond than you think. It's just an amazing thing to do. So if you want to ride a motorcycle, or if you have a motorcycle and are looking for an upgrade, go to Elkhart Indian Motorcycle, where you're looking for Indian, used brand, used motorcycles of all brands, or if you're looking for one of the new motorcycles out there that they carry with the Royal Enfields, they've got those too, which are great entry level bikes, by the way. And if you are looking for that, go to Elkhart Indian Motorcycle. You can go elkhartindianmotorcycle.com. That's their website. Take a look at their showroom and learn about the events that are upcoming as well, because I think Wild West Wednesday next week as well. And of course, you can visit them in person to see the showroom for yourself at 3016 Brittany Court. And if you've got a bike, hit me up. Let's go for a ride. All right. To the phone lines we go. John, welcome to the program. Good afternoon.
Hi, Casey. How are you this morning?
I'm well, man. What's up?
Well, just, you mentioned the alleged shooting at the ICE facility. I guess we have to say alleged, or whether it's factual or not. Yeah, who knows?
There was a shooting. The person in custody is allegedly the shooter.
Okay.
Yeah, there's bullets through the glass. I think that's not alleged. I think we're good there.
Okay. I'm just I know sometimes you might be able to get to talk to Rush Limbaugh where we can't always get in, but I'm just kind of wondering, with the event there in Texas, with that person who's certainly evil and certainly deserves swift and just punishment, but why is no one pointing to the problems with the liberals and the progressives who have stymied Trump from doing something along the border, to lay this at their feet, saying, you do have these people that are marginal out there, but had you let the president do his job in the first place to secure our country, maybe you're partially at fault for this also, if you want to accept blame, and truly no one's at fault except that evil individual.
Yeah.
Why is no one pointing this out, that the liberals and the progressives are partially, or maybe more substantially, at fault for this?
Well, first of all, they are, based on his manifesto. Okay. If you are going to assign blame to a political ideology, which would be the wrong thing to do, regardless, I just want to make that crystal clear, because there are plenty of people on the left and the right who have no interest in harming anybody.
Absolutely.
But if you're going to assign political blame, read his manifesto. His political blame is right there. He's a leftist. Okay. And he was radicalized by a lot of the views that he held. Obviously, a lot of that was motivated by race, but his concern in El Paso was that American citizens, predominantly whites, were not going to have the resources applied to them with universal health care that he supported, or universal basic income that he supported, or any of these other so-called progressive campaign talking points and ideological policies, because he felt that illegal immigrants were going to take up large swaths of that money. Well, where does that come from? And again, he's a nutso, okay? But where does that come from? Well, illegal immigrants use up millions and actually it's billions of dollars a year in these programs. Okay, that's a real thing that happens. Illegal immigrants do come across the border and kill Americans routinely and on a regular basis. Now, that involves both murder as well as DUIs, traffic issues, that sort of thing. They also rape people on a regular basis. Now, is that the preponderance of people who come across the border? Absolutely not. And nobody has said to the contrary, including the president. He has said the vast majority of them are going to be good people. However, we cannot ignore the fact that these things happen. So now, those are all real things, okay? And that's kind of what you're addressing. What you seem to be saying to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, is that if the president had been allowed to fix the porous border these past couple of years like he has tried to do, perhaps this radical nutso would have been diverted from doing what he did, because at least he would have felt that something was being done to rectify these very real problems that he took issue with.
You're right on
okay.
point, Casey. That's exactly. And no one's pointing that out to the liberals that you stymied someone from doing something, and whether this guy is politically right, left, center, upside down, or sideways, these people feel helpless, and then they, I wouldn't even say they overreact. They do something horrible and evil.
Sure.
But
I mean, look, a lot of radicals get radicalized for things that are really happening. Okay, there are some people out there that get radicalized for things that are make believe, like Fredo, Cuomo. But there are people who get radicalized about real things. Okay, what this guy's concern with immigration was real. He's a bigot, and he hated them. But his anger at what was really happening is true. There are those who also get radicalized by the conditions of ICE facilities, like the guy who fired at the ICE facility and was just arrested, or the individual who was an Antifa terrorist with the ICE facility there in Washington. You know, right. There's a real problem of overcrowding. Parents are actually being separated from their kids, but the law requires it. Kids are being separated from people who are lying about being their parents and are actually selling those kids into slavery or raping them or using them as currency in order to smuggle themselves and other bad people into the country. Okay, that's a real thing that is happening. And then what you have is people on the left get radicalized that they think they're all innocent and they commit acts of violence. So yeah, you could be radicalized on real things. It doesn't make the thing bad. It doesn't make the policy against the thing bad, but it makes the radical, the lowest common denominator, somebody who's defective as a human being already, is going to be more prone to pick up some weapon and cause harm because they think they're fixing a real issue. And they're not.
Right. Sure.
So, I mean, you're not wrong. It just has to be phrased in a way that it can't be turned back to go, well, it's Trump's rhetoric that's the issue, because this guy was saying that these things were... Because this is what the left is going to say on this, if you were to bring this up, John, is, yeah, but all of the things that he's saying are not true.
Right.
Except they are true. And then they'll accuse you of echoing Trump and then use that as some validation that what they're saying about Trump radicalizing this guy is 100% accurate, when in fact it's not. This is a very real situation. Look, I remember very specifically reading a Soldier of Fortune magazine, which, by the way, is one of the best military and international news publications you will ever read. And it has real news with real investigative reporters who are embedded all over the world. And I know that a lot of people, particularly on the left, have kind of dismissed it as just a military militia type rag, but they do very good journalism in that publication. And I remember picking something up in the 1990s. I was still in high school. I hadn't enlisted yet, about altercations with Mexican military personnel escorting drug cartel personnel across our border. And that our people were told to stand down and that this would routinely happen. Hey, that's in the 90s. It's still happening. So in all that time, nothing has been fixed. Multiple presidential administrations. It is universal in this country, on the left, the center, and the right, that this is a problem that has to be fixed at the border. And the only people that are refusing to address it are the far left and moderate Republicans in Congress.
Right. But, it's funny you mentioned that, Casey, because I remember years ago there was a Wall Street Journal article. This was decades ago. They talked about the huge police force in Mexico City that in 1 year, approximately half of the police force had reported their handgun either lost or stolen, which they sell them on the black market. We all know that.
Right.
And because of the corruption there, just like in the other Central American countries, if we would go there, you have to go there, but if we would get the corruption out of their governments, I would love to go to Honduras for a vacation.
Oh, they're beautiful countries. They're absolutely.
If you disappeared, the corrupt local politicians and the corrupt local police, just like in Mexico. A friend of mine used to travel in Mexico and would tell me horror stories out in the countryside how corrupt the police were and the federales were.
Yeah. Well known.
You know,
The United Nations, by the way, lists Mexico as one of the most corrupt governments on earth. It's way worse than most Middle Eastern nations. So that's how bad it is down there. You know, and I guess because it's close proximity, we assume that everybody near us is like the U.S. and Canada. I don't know. But Mexico is a very corrupt and a very dangerous place. And by the way, the media, the press, reporters, journalists, they get assassinated with regularity there.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it's horrible. All right, man, I appreciate it. Thank you much.
Thank you for your time.
You bet. I mean, you know, and again, you have to be careful about what John was saying, because what John was saying is true, but they will try and spin it to mean something else. All right, couple of things. Westbound bypass around Ireland is backed up. Also, Cassopolis, State Road 19, northbound in Elkhart. There's an accident slowing things down there. Got more coming up, including more phone calls on Newstalk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
This is Michiana's breaking news and weather station.
All right, so here's what I have about the Labor Day weekend abate course for my listeners. The commercial should start Friday, but I'm going to give you a heads up. We have 12 spots, and only 12 spots. If you were to try and take an abate course now, you wouldn't be able to get into one, okay? So we will be able to do 12 spots in this very special class that is only available to my listeners, where you will learn how to ride a motorcycle. And you will get out of the class with the ability to take your slip down to the BMV and get your endorsement on your license.
To Casey?
Okay? So it's a course that everybody should take anyway, and everybody should continue to take the more advanced courses with abate as well. But that's going to be happening Labor Day weekend. And we'll start announcing it this Friday on the show. And there's only 12 spots. So they expect to sell all 12. Last time we did this, it sold out very quick. So we assume it'll sell out quick again. There's a lot of people right about now who are like, oh, I want to get my motorcycle license, and they can't because they're all full. So we created a special class just for my listeners with the same instructor that we had last year, who is phenomenal. Richard is great. And we are going to have another abate class. If they sell all 12 of these spots in the class, they'll do a meet and greet with me. If they do 11 and there's a bike left, then I will be participating in the riding events of it. So they prefer to sell all of them, obviously, because they want to make their money. And part of it is, in case you've already done it, you don't need to do it again. And I'm like, well, you know, but the listeners want to have an experience with me, so we can do that. So it just kind of depends on how it goes, but there's only 12 slots, that's it, okay?
Partly cloudy, high of 78, not as humid, with an isolated shower or thunderstorm possible by the late afternoon. In the ABC 57 First Morning Neighborhood Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Tom Moon.
Oh, yeah, I talk to Rush all the time. We're best buds.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to Rush in 11 years. He came to town, did a show out of my studio for a couple of days, and that was it.
Surrounded by a crafty fine wine, champagne, and dessert list that is as unique and seasonal as our menu.
The only people that I talk to on a regular basis are Brian Kilmeade, Lars Larson. I talk to Katz out of Indianapolis, and Rusty Humphreys, a couple of other local people around the country. So those are the ones that I talk to on a regular basis.
Reservations required. 21 and up. Explore our menu, buy gift cards, or make a single dinner reservation at temperranger.com. Unplug and relax. a truly unforgettable dining experience. Because life is
Oh, good question.
and the food is too good to break bread in a bad mood.
Are there any sidecars
With attitude.
for the Royal Enfield? I don't know. I would assume so.
Higher after the U.S. announced it was delaying the implementation of tariffs on certain goods imported from China. The news sending investors into a buying mode. Shares of toy makers like Mattel and Hasbro.
That is a great question for Elkhart India Motorcycle.
Why?
All right, so I'll just go to royalenfield.com.
Will now get pushed back until December 15th, which is beyond the time most of the toys that would be sold during the key holiday period arrive in the
I really only have one major complaint about Royal Enfield. They made an Army Green Classic, which is beautiful, but all of the piping in the engine is chrome.
Yeah.
Stupid. Should be black. They have a shadow version, which is all blacked out, and it looks fantastic. The green one should be blacked out, too. If the green one were blacked out, that would be the way to go.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. 30% of Americans who are planning home improvements of $5,000 or more will pay for those renovations with a high-interest credit card. That may not be a great idea. A better idea may be to take cash out of your home with a Quicken Loans 30-year fixed-rate mortgage.
No, I actually like a couple of the Royal Enfield bikes quite a lot. Wouldn't mind having them.
Call us today at 8
Little grocery getters and stuff.
rocketmortgage.com.
Rate subject to change. 8.88% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Hey, my friend's retail store was the victim of IoT password theft.
Yep. Cyber criminals are taking over security
Yup.
cameras, payment
That
systems, and other
happens.
IoT devices by exploiting vulnerabilities.
You know, Elkhart Indian, they also do conversions where they'll put two tires up front, so you can put on any bike. And they had a couple of them that they were doing conversions for, which are really good for disabled people or older people. And so at low speeds, what happens is those two tires will stabilize the bike for you. And then as you get up to speed, it functions just like a normal motorcycle does. So it's a really cool system. And again, the idea is to make sure that people who get older can still ride their bike without putting themselves in any great danger. The backup in westbound starts just before the Bremen Highway exit. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Sun Services is your local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer. Here's owner Jamie Teray on why they use American Standard.
American Standard statistically has less repairs and is higher efficiency. And so when we have repair calls come in, it tends to be for the other brands of equipment, not for the American Standard. So in the long run, it's a cost saving to the homeowner when they have less repairs and less headaches from the equipment breaking down.
Give Sun Services a call today, 574-271-5010. Your trusted, local, independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
No one likes a smoke alarm ringing in the middle of the night, but neither do they want to be awakened by snoring. Snoring is just like a smoke alarm, warning you of a more serious problem related to a sleep-breathing disorder, sleep apnea. Snoring is just one of the symptoms, but it can be treated. The doctors at Mahoney Family Dentistry offer relief to those suffering from snoring or sleep apnea. Whether you are looking for an alternative to an uncomfortable sleep CPAP machine, or find
Does Indian have a trike? I believe so, yes. Oh, you know what? I do talk to Buck. Yeah, Alex, you're right. I talk to Buck all the time, too. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of other people also that I talk to. So my tiny little list ended up being kind of a name drop. Sorry. I only talked to a couple of people. Oh, this person, that person, that person. Yeah, so Todd Starnes I talk to all the time. Also,
Matt Locke.
Huh?
Matt Locke.
Yeah, a lot of local people. I talk to local people all over the country regularly. So I would consider Matt kind of a streamer, local type personality. But yeah, totally. Matt's great. He's going to cover for me when I go on vacation, too. And good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel. I am your host, Casey Hendrickson. Phone number, 574-25-95-95.3. That is 2595-953. You can also send a text message to 45364. Please put MNC at the beginning of that message. Westbound bypass is backed up. Somebody sent me a text message and said that the backup was happening westbound right around Bremen Highway.
So right around the Bremen Highway exit, that's where they were having the issue. So I do appreciate the updates on that and the clarification. All right, 574-2595-95.3. That's 2595-953. Fredo Cuomo is out there pretending that the word Fredo is an ethnic slur. It is not an ethnic slur. We've talked about this earlier today as well. Chris Cuomo from It's Not News, It's CNN. He is one of the Dumb and Dumber duet of Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo. So CNN's Chris Cuomo's apoplectic meltdown caught on video after some Long Island bro in a V-neck and aviators called him Fredo. Fredo Corleone, of course, is the fictional character in the Godfather franchise. He is well known as being the worst of the three brothers. In response, Cuomo threatens to throw the guy down the stairs, ruin his bleep, and hurled about a dozen F-bombs. I actually did a verbatim quote of the video on my live stream today. Couldn't do it on the radio, obviously. Sprinkled in there was Cuomo's comparison of the insult Fredo to the N-word. Yes, Cuomo, the same guy who compared Antifa to World War II vets, believes the term Fredo is the Italian equivalent of the N-word. FYI, no Italian ever has thought this. Ever. By the Fredo means black sheep. Okay, you're the black sheep of the family if you're a Fredo. It's nothing racist. Again, have to issue the clarification for the Joy Behars out there in the audience. Black sheep also isn't a racial term. But perhaps that is simply because Cuomo does not understand the gravitas of the N-word. Again, this is a perfect example of a white privileged liberal trying to be offended, making stuff up. This was not the first time that he compared an insult that he didn't like to possibly the worst word in the English language. He also said fake news was the N-word for journalists. He was a weak brother, and they use it as an Italian aspersion. Are any of you Italian? Are you Italian? It's a bleeping insult to your people. It's an insult to your bleeping people. It's an insult to your people. It's like the N-word for us. Is that a cool bleeping thing, he said in the video. Again, he threatened to throw him down the stairs and ruin his bleep S-word. A spokesperson for CNN tweeted support for Cuomo, because obviously a bunch of people are like, yo, this is not okay. First of all, it's not an ethnic slur. Cuomo's lying about that. And second of all, he's threatening to hurt somebody who hurt his feelings. That is not something that is considered okay. If I were to react this way, my boss would be very upset with me. As people have pointed out for the past couple of days, or I should say the past several hours, past 24 hours, if Sean Hannity were to react this way to somebody who insulted him publicly, the left would be calling for his head. If Trump were to react this way, and Trump has reacted in less aggressive ways many times, people would say that he is deranged and mentally ill. And Cuomo and others have. Isn't that ironic? Cuomo reacts this way to somebody making fun of him. If somebody makes fun of President Trump and he hits back at them, people like Cuomo go out there and immediately point out, see, he's unfit. He's deranged. He's unstable. Look how quick to temper he is. And yet here's Cuomo doing the exact same thing, actually much, much worse. So a spokesman for CNN tweeted out support for Cuomo, saying that the second-generation Italian was simply defending himself against an ethnic slur. The problem is that Fredo is not an ethnic slur. Nobody has ever considered it a slur. It has never been considered a slur. And when you have a bunch of people from CNN circling the wagons and going, oh, no, it's ethnic slur. No, it's not. It absolutely isn't. Now, I'd also like to point out, and I played the soundbite earlier, even mixed my own little tune. Cuomo has said Fredo before on his show. Not to highlight that it's an ethnic slur, but he's also had Anna Navarro on his show. Anna Navarro, huge leftist, has called the Trump sons Fredo. And he didn't jump on her for using an ethnic slur at all. In fact, he didn't care. So why is it that CNN has repeatedly allowed one of their personalities and many of their guests to repeatedly use a known ethnic slur against Italians on their programming? And they've never said anything. They've never apologized. They've never disciplined anybody. They've never made sure that the public understood that, hey, we made a mistake in allowing this to air and it'll never happen again. They've never cared. You know why? Because it's not an ethnic slur. It's only an ethnic slur because Fredo Cuomo doesn't like his feelings getting hurt. And so when somebody makes fun of him, he loses his temper. This is, by the way, his MO. He has lost his temper multiple times in the past when somebody has mocked him or made fun of him, even on social media. Well, mostly on social media, but in person as well. He loses his cool. And Cuomo lost his cool again. But it's not just that he lost his cool. He fabricated a fictional fake news scenario in which he was being victimized by a bigot. That didn't happen. And then CNN, defending their guy, who's not even a primary player on their network, defended their guy by also weaving a fictional fake news narrative that Fredo is an ethnic slur. And it's not. It only means black sheep. So you are the black sheep of the family if you are a Fredo. That is the whole point that Rush Limbaugh calls him Fredo. He is the black sheep of CNN. He and Don Lemon are the lowest common denominators. They're the ones that are the least proficient, the least professional, the least intelligent of the CNN staff. And everybody knows it. They're the most error-prone. They are there purely as, I don't know, what is the opposite of red meat? What do they call it on the left? Do they call it anything? I don't know, is it blue ice? Instead of red meat, blue ice, I guess. They're the people that are there for CNN to really pander to the psychopathic tinfoil base. That's what they're there for, okay? The rest of CNN tries to pretend that they do news. Those two don't. They don't pretend to do news. They are clearly commentators, and they go so far to the left that they are literally there to maintain the base. And their ratings show it, because the ratings are terrible. So it's, I played it earlier again, Anna Navarro, I won't play it again, but Anna Navarro has used this. Cuomo has used the term himself on his show, and CNN has never batted an eye. Cuomo's never batted an eye. Nobody's ever cared, because it's not an ethnic slur, and it's a total lie. We've got more coming up. Newstalk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
Wondering about the weekend? It's all.
Yeah, Matt will be covering for me. So when I go on vacation at the beginning of September, Matt Locke is going to be the guy filling in. It just went through, Alex? Are you kidding me? I did that before I went live.
What?
Streamlabs finally posted to the Discord server that I'm live. It is pouring down rain on State Road 23 in Granger, just east of Elm Road. That's the Elm Road curse. Oh, you just... Okay, so it did it earlier. All right, that's good.
Ever wonder why Europeans seem to speak so many languages? Maybe it's because they use Babbel.
You know what's interesting about the Hitler mustache is that was a popular mustache back then. And one guy killed off an entire fashion trend for all of history. No, I'm not leaving the live stream equipment for Matt. Matt will live stream himself because he always does. So he'll tell you how to follow what he does. And if you want to follow him on his social media, by all means do it. But he's always streamed. Yeah, so he's going to be online. As long as his equipment works, he'll be good to go.
No wonder Babbel is the #1 selling language learning app in Europe. Try it for yourself and see why Babbel is the quick way to get conversational in a new language, like Spanish, French, or more. You can try Babbel for free. Go to Babbel.com or download the app and try it for free. That's Babbel, Babbel.com, or download the app to try it for free. That's Babbel.com.
Hi, this is Dr. Roger Bazan. Many of you have been having trouble with your teeth for years. You've been wanting have lots of questions and you're afraid. At Apton, we believe in patient-friendly dentistry. That means we're here to really listen to what you have to say. We'll help you make good decisions based on your individual needs and help you financially to attain your dental goals. If dentures are in your future, Apton is the place for you. Our dentures are custom made right here in our own lab.
You can't say dark clouds, B-dubs.
Teeth removed, we offer complete oral surgery care, and your dentures will be placed at the same time. You won't be without teeth even for one day. This could be a life-changing experience, so don't put it off any longer. For a free consultation, call Afdent on Douglas Road in Mishawaka at 277-2220 or visit afdent.com.
We've all been there before. Equipment malfunction can wreck your plans and shut down your office or facility. Let's be blunt.
Michiana's News Channel, would you like to talk to Casey? Depends on what you're calling about.
Or get ahead of the game with a professional assessment that goes into a full-scale preventative maintenance schedule. Using advanced tools like
Okay, I'll try to get you on there, Jason. Michiana's News Channel, would you like to talk to Casey?
Service upgrades, energy-efficient lighting, and commercial solutions for every industry. Let us take the guesswork out of your project and help you sleep easy. Find us on Facebook or visit finalphaseelectric.net.
What's the difference between a bed from outdoor bedding?
Oh, okay, I'll go ahead and pass that on to him.
The label?
No problem.
Our materials and construction are the same as the national brands, but they're just factory direct. We eliminate warehouses and middlemen, so the outdoor bedding everyday price is less than sale prices at other stores, like our two-sided queen sleep set, $299. Get the most bed for your money. By factory direct at outdoor.
I know, Tracy. I know. I almost said something. No, I did not ride my motorcycle today. Thank God, because apparently people are saying it's raining all over the place.
It rained a little bit on me.
Well, so last night I was planning on riding it and testing out the new camera. So I was just going to ride to Best Buy, pick up the new card, and then throw it in. But then I woke up this morning, and it was like, oh, there's a chance of rain. So it went from it's just going to be partly cloudy to rain all day. So I didn't bother with it.
Fuck, Jason.
I don't know, man.
Michiana's News Channel, would you like to talk to Casey?
Oh, that happens all the time, Alex. All the time.
Yeah.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's News Channel. Speaking of Fredo Cuomo, I have created new merchandise with Fredo Cuomo. 1024th Fredo. And you can go purchase that now. I've got the links in the live stream at youtube.com/CaseyTheHost, twitch.tv/CaseyTheHost, facebook.com/CaseyTheHost. And on Facebook, I have a separate post with the new Fredo Cuomo merchandise of 1024th Fredo. You can go check that out and buy it for a limited time. All right, 574-25-95-95-3. That is 2595-953. I forgot to go over this. Over the weekend, the BBC put up a chart. Now, on this chart, this is an actual graphic from BBC News. They were talking about how fast can weapons fire, approximate fire rates of selected weapons. And they had a revolver up to 20 rounds per minute. Semi-automatic pistol up to 50 rounds per minute. Semi-automatic assault rifle up to 120 rounds per minute. And a modified semi-automatic assault weapon, an AR-15. So the assault rifle was an AK-47 and the AR-15 is 1,200 rounds per minute. There's 3 weapons there that are semi-automatic. And then, of course, you have the revolver. BBC was shamed into taking the graphic down. But, of course, the damage was done. This is what happens when you have morons who don't know anything about firearms trying to dictate the debate with firearms. The BBC clearly does not know anything about guns. That chart proved it, and they still put it up in their story anyway. Now they're trying to hide it. by running away from it. Nope. You're not in any way, shape, or form going to get people. Here's the thing. When you put it up in social media, it is screenshot ASAP. It's not going anywhere. Everybody is going to remember. Jason, welcome to the program. Good afternoon.
Hey, Casey. How are you, man?
I am doing well. What's up?
I want to talk about that tweet, Donald Trump Jr.'s tweet.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people say it was really funny, first off. I thought it was hilarious. A lot of people say he's like born with a silver spoon in his mouth and a bunch of negative stuff to say about it, but I don't know. I don't know if there's anything wrong with the spoon. You know, every now and then me and my buddies will use a spoon.
574-25-95-95-3. That is 2595-953. So BBC has been embarrassed, obviously, and they got caught. So again, you got 3 semi-automatic models on there. By the way, why have the Russians stuck with the AK-47? If the AK-47 can only fire 120 rounds per minute maximum, but an AR-15 can fire 1,200 rounds per minute, why would the Russians still use AKs? I don't know. Got more coming up? Actually, we don't. Hannity's up next. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you tomorrow.
This is Casey Weed, president.
I knew where that was going. Knew where that was going. I can't get laid, and so I just call radio shows because my girlfriend won't do anything to me.
Give us a call today for a free consultation to discuss how prepared you are to handle retirement pitfalls like inflation, healthcare emergencies, stock market.
All right, folks, I've got to bounce out of here pretty quick. So you have like 30 seconds to a minute to ask me anything you needed to ask. If you need to ask anything, and then I will be bouncing on out of here. I have an appointment to get to. Drink.
Investment advisory services may be offered through Howard Felix LLC, a registered investment advisor. TRC-FM and HD1. South Bend, Elkhart.
News Talk 95.3.
Your top stories right now. Was she a target? Lisa Lucera, Fox News. Police in Dayton, Ohio say the suspect in the August 4th mass shooting had a plan to carry out the attack, but they're divided.
Yeah, those are good credits today.
Whoa.
Nice.
Lisa, Police Chief Richard Beale said Lopez knew his sister Megan was there when the suspect opened fire. Investigators don't know if he could see her standing under an umbrella at a taco stand. Whether that was intentional or not, I think it's inconclusive. They say the gunman killed 9 people and wounded at least 17 others. Officials initially said at least 4.
Frank, I'll do a Tumblr for you. You want a Tumblr, man? Personal message on Facebook, okay? And I'll do a Tumblr for you, and I'll send you the link. How about that? I'd be happy to do it. Will do, Tracy. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Sam. Alex, the Woodchuck could chuck 3. Joe should be on the mod list. I thought I had you as a mod.
I am on the mod list.
On Twitch?
Hmm?
Yeah. He's a mod, Tracy. He just doesn't do his job. I'm kidding. No, I've got, I think I have 3 people as mods for Twitch. But Alex, I think, focuses more on YouTube because that's where he's at. I think he's been working extra hours. You say you look tired.
No more than usual. If anything, now I'm working less.
He's not in the credits. Oh, that's interesting. You're not in the credits.
Because I didn't go like it. That's why.
Well, but it usually thanks my mods.
Probably because I wasn't involved. Didn't show up, so I probably didn't get it.
Okay, so you weren't there today. And okay. That makes sense.
I think thanks the active mods over there.
Ford Pass, built to keep you moving, built Ford proud. Visit your participating Ford dealership to find out about getting flexible complimentary maintenance when you buy or lease a new Ford and sign up for rewards.
Roadside assistance is included for certain Ford owners and available to every
Nightbot's in it. Yeah, it's probably because Joe didn't log in. That's a pretty good guess, I think.
dealer or FordPassRewards.com for program rules and restrictions. Ford Pass.
All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and bounce out of here. Again, I got an appointment to get to, and I don't want to miss it. It's going to be a fun night tonight, so thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Of course, thumbs up if you haven't. Subscribe if you haven't. If you're on Twitch, make sure you follow if you haven't. I do appreciate it. Thank you, Blue. Appreciate that as well. Yeah, the LED guy. All right, you all take care. We'll see